Hey friends, we are back here with coverage of Players Tour Online number 4, and it is top 8 time. It is time for the quarterfinals. We are leading up to the moment you've all been waiting for. We've already crowned one champion in Players Tour Online number 3 earlier today, but we've got to find them a friend, and we're about to do it here in Players Tour Online number 4. Our first feature match is none other than Pesach Israeli playing Bant Ramp versus Hall of Famer Gabriel Nassif on Azorius Control. All right, I hope you brought your popcorn, Marshall. Let's go to the match.
I did just have cold pizza, which is a poor substitute for hot popcorn. But what are you going to do, you know?
I don't know. Heat up?
Yeah. Yeah, there's too much behind this.
I'm sorry. That was uncalled for.
You know what, Cedric? So we've got our first quarterfinal match coming in. This is blue-white control in the hands of Gabriel Nassif playing against Pesach Israeli on Bant Ramp. Now, worth noting here, we've got 4 Teamer Rec in our top 8, 2 blue-white, a Bant Flash, and a Bant Ramp. So that's how things broke down here. Half of our top 8 Teamer Rec, and the rest split between 2 Bant variants and then blue-white. No aggro decks, no sacrifice decks, nothing like that.
A lot of islands. So if you like blue, you've come to the right place, and we are going to see a lot of it. A lot of jockeying for position, a lot of counter spells, and for whoever is going to win this tournament potentially, a lot of Teferi Time Raveler, which is going to play a huge role in this top 8.
Absolutely. We're so used to seeing this card at this point that, you know, we don't really give it the credit it deserves as far as how much it impacts games on a game-to-game basis, because we're just, they have Teferi. Yeah, you can't do this, you can't do that. It completely changes the way that these games play out, the options the players have, specifically, you know, with counterspells or instant speed stuff being critical. And you see that already, right? There's an Ether Gust and a Mystical Dispute in hand for Pesach there, and then we see the combo, if you will, kind of coming together here for Gabriel Nassif. Narset and Teferi together really kind of shuts down a lot of the decks. What were we going to say, Sed?
I'm a little surprised here. Nassif could have played Teferi. Chose to start with Narset as opposed to Teferi.
Interesting.
I'm a little surprised by that.
I am too, right? Because the logic being, I can play my Teferi now, then on my turn I can play my Narset, and you can't counter it.
Yeah.
Interesting. 4 mana available here for Israeli. I don't know what Nassif does now.
Yeah, because if you play Teferi last turn, you plus it, then you just have free reign to just resolve your spells as we go. Obviously, now you could say it's not that easy, but now I actually think weirdly Nassif has worked himself in a little bit of trouble here because he has to play on his own main phase. I'm not saying his deck is counterspell heavy, but and his hand is definitely a sorcery speed hand, regardless of Teferi being on the battlefield or not. But it might actually be the inability to have his spells always resolve, which might be problematic now.
Well, he's going to throw Teferi Time Raveler on the stack, but it's looks like it's going to get disputed here, as it kind of has to. I'm also interested to see what happens with Narset here, and also Israeli does have Brazen Borrower in hand, and I'm curious to see if we see that on the battlefield.
Yep.
Potentially just taking down Narset.
All right, Gustarino. Nassif does have land 5, so that's good.
Yep, for next turn. And it does look like we're going to... Yeah, there's Brazen Borrower hitting the battlefield. Hey, leaving a body behind after taking out an opposing Planeswalker is very tempting. There you go. And it was Uro off the top, too. Curious to see what Archon of Sun's Grace ends up doing this game. We've seen it have a big impact. It seems to fit into the metagame pretty nicely.
I would love, and I'm sure Nassif has probably addressed this with this stream. I'd love to know why he led on Narset and not Teferi.
I'm curious too.
Like, I'm trying to think in my head why that would happen. Oh, sorry for typing on my keyboard, people. That's my bad.
They're trying to guess.
I didn't know that was coming in. Everybody,
which keys you have? You know,
Sorry.
like the Cherry MXs or the
really loud Racer keyboard. I didn't know it was coming to you guys. I'm really sorry.
All right, here comes Uro.
Some people find the typing peaceful. It's not. You don't have to lie.
So these ether gusts. Yikes. 2 of them going to be stuck in hand here.
Yikes.
Not great.
Very bad.
This does seem to be the tournament where we've seen people really try to build their decks, maybe even giving up some peak power level, but to punish people for playing main deck ether gust. And we see that here from Nassif now.
So this, man. Okay, well, okay, so we're gonna go to the casket, take care of the borrower, but we can bounce the casket and get the borrower back. I'm just a little perplexed. It doesn't mean the Nassif's play was wrong, and he's too smart to not have a reason to do it. I'm just a little perplexed at that line of Narset into Teferi as opposed to Teferi into Narset. That's all.
Curious too.
Because it's shaped the entire game, right?
Yes, for sure.
Mystical Dispute actually did something this game as opposed to not doing something. Stuff like that. Also a little interesting now, too, is Israeli can bounce the glass casket, but then Teferi's gone, and then he doesn't really have like much of anything going on.
Right.
Okay.
Chat's throwing out some theories as to why you might run out Narset. They're true. You maybe you're trying to stop your opponent from drawing cards from Uro or something. But the way that you would figure that out, though, of course, is to weigh that against what you gain from having Teferi on the battlefield. And what Cedric's saying is it feels like having that Teferi on the battlefield might have been a better situation.
Yeah, like I don't even think that Nassif is wrong in what he did.
Right. It's just you want to know why.
Yeah. Because he doesn't make a play where he's like, I guess I'm going to try this or whatever. Like, nothing he does is accidental. And,
right.
I'll say this, given how long he thinks about his turns, it better not be accidental because he's in the tank always. So there's rhyme and reason behind what he does. I mean, as things stand, even though I'm like debating the merits of leading with Teferi versus Narset, look at the battlefield. He's doing great.
It's true. Chat's doing a little revisionist history now, though.
Insofar as?
Well, they're saying that maybe that Teferi, that the chances of Teferi getting countered weren't that high, but that Teferi did get countered, and it got countered by a spell that would have been completely blank if Teferi had been ran out first. So that's kind of what the crux of the discussion is, Super interesting, though, and this is also really cool because now we've hit the mid to late game here where players have a lot of mana available, multiple planeswalkers. Now there's a Shark Typhoon on the battlefield, etc.
This Shark's got a real question to ask. Who am I chomping on? Do I want Narset or do I want Teferi? And that's that's not an easy question to answer. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8 mana. Okay, so we're gonna go to this bozo, huh? wonder how much Nassif cares about that.
Not that much.
Yep. Okay. Remember, like, Ether Dust is mostly blank for Peach, but you can target your own stuff and save it from something.
Right. So Narsa goes away here, especially given Israeli's hand.
Yep. I love land. Was Nassif counting his library? Oh.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, he's covered all the angles, getting a good look at everything.
Looks like he does want that island and finds another Omen of the Sea.
All right, so shatter. Yeah, okay, so shatter instant speed, I guess.
Yeah, instant speed shatter seems like where you want to be. Hitting that land lets you play around a mystical dispute. Although, now that I say that, I see Teferi Time Raveler on the battlefield anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, looks good. Clear the board.
Mm-hmm.
Get him out of here.
So this turn looks like, yeah, shatter for sure. Your opponent gets to draw a card, and then you get to Gust Nissa.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good.
We're in the quarterfinals if you're just tuning in. This is game 1. Top 8 ended up being 4-teamer rec, 2 blue-white, 1 Bant Flash, 1 Bant Ramp, as it turns out. This looks pretty good for Nassif, though. Get rid of the board and have an answer for Nissa, at least for now.
Yeah, I like Nassif's positioning here a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Really do. I mean, you could actually make the argument here that Nassif lets this Nissa resolve, makes a land, opponent goes to attack, shatter it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you catch a land, and then you can either ECD it, or Nassif lets Israeli draw inside his draw step, gust it, so that it's not coming back into the following turn. So yeah, he doesn't have to take care of this at all. Also, Nassif's sitting at 20 life. So
yeah, the funny part is the more interesting is, do you let them have an Uro trigger?
Yeah,
right? Like,
that one you probably stop.
Because Israeli's like, no, thank you. I'm not just going to throw a land into a potential Shadow of the Sky here.
Yeah. Now, if you do the ECD, if Nassif goes down the ECD line of like, I'm going to ECD your thing, then Israeli would gust his own thing, right? To save it. So that would give Gust actually meaningful text.
Somewhat. I mean, you're throwing away a card for no value. You're not even getting the card back out of it. You're just augmenting your draw step.
Ooh, hold on. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's. Oh wow. Nassif? Nope, this doesn't. Okay, so the thing I'm thinking there is. So Nassif gusted pre-combat.
Yeah.
Then he shatters before combat.
Right.
Shatter draws Israeli a card because he has a creature.
Right.
That's 4 power. So he could have redeployed Nissa, untapped Breeding Pool to make a 3/3, and then have Gust up in case ECD comes down. But like,
so
he
why
just
didn't
redeploy? Yeah, I'm a little surprised he didn't redeploy.
Because he had 5 mana.
Yeah.
What do we miss there?
I mean, it may have just been a mistake. Because Nassif was entirely tapped out. Nassif is Nassif is having some fun this game. And now it looks like we're not going to redeploy at all.
Well, I don't. So chat's saying, okay, fine. There's a Teferi in play, so you can't do the Gust play. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about why not replay Nissa.
No, chat makes a very good point that there's a Teferi in play. So my protecting of Nissa with Gust is incorrect. So they're right about that.
I know, but who cares? Yeah. Like, protecting Nissa with Gust isn't a real thing anyway, because it's not like you're getting a card out of it. right? Like you're just throwing away an Ether Gust just so that you get to redraw your Nissa as a draw step, I'm just wondering, like, would Israeli rather have a Nissa plus a 3/3 on the battlefield here?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
I know.
Well, now Nissa is not going to do anything.
So
At least the 3/3s.
this is kind of an interesting question too now, because if you rewind the game back a little bit, when Nassif when Israeli had the Shark Typhoon token, and we were asking which planeswalker you were supposed to kill, Teferi or Narset. I mean, obviously this is hindsight,
right?
But like, were you supposed to kill the Teferi? Were you supposed to kill the Narset? Which was what makes the decision so difficult, because obviously the longer that Narset's on the battlefield, the worse it is.
Yeah, and I mean now this game's just done, right?
I think Israeli's like locked out of the game.
Yeah, I think Israeli's just like, well, we're done here. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that could be why Israeli chose not to redeploy the Nissa and make the 3/3 is just because Israeli knows that there's an Elspeth Conqueror's Death in hand, and maybe just thought, I'm trading in this Nissa for a 3/3, right?
Yeah.
And giving my opponent the chance to cast a spell they want to anyway. At this point, this game's way over.
Maybe there was, I mean, I want to believe that there was a way that Israeli had a way to stay in this game, and maybe that's not true, because looking at it at the simplest way, he drew 2 copies of Ether Gust, and those suck.
Look at this Yorion.
Yeah, I mean this is crazy. This is a huge big bird beating.
Oh my god! Look at this Yorion.
Yeah, this is a huge beating.
This is insane. Look at all the Pegasus is going to come into play here. Oh man. You need to have a scroll thing so you can organize all of the triggers that you get off of this.
Nassif is just running up the score now. Having the time of his life. Someone mentioned that the opponent needs to have a tail's end right now. They could have a tail's end. They'd still lose. Israeli would still lose.
Yes, they would. Because there's a Teferi and blah, blah, blah. This is ridiculous. Come on, Nassif.
Yeah.
Discard 4 cards on your end.
Yeah, so that was my bad earlier, working Gust into the equation with regard when Teferi was on the battlefield. So apologies for those at home for missing that one.
I can't wait for Teferi to be gone.
Yeah, it's weird, because like when it's on the battlefield, sometimes like when you're playing the game, there's a static, and sometimes when you're covering a game, you forget the static's there, and you're thinking about all the ways the person can interact, and it's like actually they just can't do anything.
Right. The statics on the Planeswalkers was the biggest curveball that coverage people have ever gotten.
Yeah.
I made a rule for myself in the first 2 weeks that it's always Narset. Like if something's weird, it's just look at Narset and remember what Narset does. Like, cause there were so many times where it's like, well, why don't you just play the Krasis? And it's like, because of Narset, or, you should cast your blah, 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 and at least try to find an answer. It's because of Narset. And it's Teferi's the same way.
The one that got me most in coverage, because, I feel like I've covered enough standard events that the Teferi one shouldn't come up, but it was actually Tamiyo was the big one.
Yeah, Tamiyo's a big one.
It was no discard or whatever.
Yeah, they can't make you sack or discard. And that one's also a little more complicated too, right? Like, it has, it does 2 different things basically. So it's that too. The designs are the designs, but from a coverage standpoint, they're rough. And, it's interesting too, because I do remember, because I agree with you, when you're playing, like I don't forget about those when I'm playing, because it's all from one side, right?
Yeah,
but when I'm playing but when I'm playing 2 players' hands at the same time, like we do when we do coverage, it's easy to just overlook that, because it only affects one and not the other, and it can be easy. But I mean, I still beat myself up about it. Because I feel the same way you do when you said, "Look, I've covered enough of these things to know." I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been berated by chat. Marshall, hello. There's a Teferi plan. I'm like, God, I did it again.
Someone's mentioning Ashiok static, which I actually had to think about for a minute because I forgot what it was. Which is, I think it's you can't search your library.
Players can't search, or they can't search. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and I mean the number of times I haven't played against Ashiok that much, but I know that it was 2 weeks ago. I just cracked a fetch land in the face of Ashiok, and oops, that's in the graveyard now.
Yes,
with no gain. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what we need more in Magic? We need more search restrictions. That's what we need. Yeah, we need more search restrictions. Like, what's the flyer? What's the 2/1 flying flash that does
Mind
it?
Sensor.
Yeah, yeah, Mind Sensor. Because I like Mind Sensor because it still gives you a sweat, right? Like you're like, well, it's not that you can't search; you just can't search very many.
Yeah. And also my favorite part about the statics too is like I'm thinking of myself when I was 20 and psycho competitive, and so I would be chomping at the bit for someone to play in the static and just be like, that doesn't work. Yeah, and I would be so happy.
I got you.
Yeah, I would just go like, yeah, duress failed, but good try. And so I'd be so happy. But now I'm just like on the other side of Magic, and I'm like, oh my god, how do I keep forgetting how these statics work for coverage?
Totally. So- it's a natural arc of a Magic player,
Yeah.
20-year-old, you pick up the duress and put it in their graveyard for them and say, are you done with your turn? Was that it?
Yeah. I'm like happily putting it in their graveyard.
Yeah. Fast forward to now, and it's like, sorry, chat.
Yeah. That's my bad.
Again. All right. So game number 2 underway. Gabriel, Nassif. Once Gabriel established position there, just a flood of value. One of the best Yorians I've seen too there. And easily able to close out the game against Pesach Israeli. Now, back-to-back games for Pesach, or it's going to be Nassif advancing to the semis. And we're underway here in the early stages of the second game.
Nassif, I mean, his deck is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think his deck is really, really good for this tournament.
Yeah, he's been smashing with it. Certainly seems to have put in the time, and it seems well positioned as well. I agree.
So this is something that you and I have talked about before, but just like I'm playing Teferi on turn 3. Just do it. Just jam it. Net can't. I just wish I wish I would Hollow Fountain untap Teferi. Come and get it. But after sideboard, no one ever wants to do it.
Not much to do here for for Nassif.
No.
Probably just passing with the Omen.
Yeah. So it's funny, right? Because like you play this game where like you don't know what's in Nassif's hand, but if you're Israeli, you're assuming, okay, you probably have at least one counter spell.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I'm not going to play my Teferi until I can protect it. And, and Nassif's hand is, as it stands right now, it's air.
Yep.
But, like, you can keep a hand like this if you're Nassif because I think it has been so established among the competitive players in these blue mirrors that, like, you're just not playing Teferi on turn 3. You're probably going to wait until you have 6 mana so you can play it and be able to beat a Mystical Dispute. So that means that you can arguably keep a hand like this if you're Nassif, if you're playing the game inside the game of, like, they're never going to play Teferi on 3.
Mm-hmm. And you kind of get away with it.
Yes.
All right, here goes Omen of the Sea, looking for probably Mystical Dispute. And hey, there's one right there. If you want to fire one off here on a Uro.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's not a reason not to run out the sea, but this is the reason to do so if you were actually looking for a spell.
Okay. Do we try to counter this?
Right. And then the question for Israeli is, do I fight back?
Yeah, because this is a situation, I think if you're Nassif, if your opponent fights back, you're cool with it. And if they don't, that's also fine. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah. And look at the confidence here from Nassif, quickly playing a land and then just slamming Archon of Sun's Grace and saying, check. Yeah. Like, you better do something about this. And it looks like there's an answer here for Israeli. It is Teferi Time Raveler.
Yeah, Archon is the kind of card where if Nassif gets on top of it, the game might just end on the spot. So I like it. And again, what's really nice about this particular threat in this particular matchup is it's white, it's not blue. Can't dispute it. It's back on the battlefield, and this Bant Ramp deck, yeah, it's got some ways to delay it with Teferi and Brazen Borrower and stuff, but doesn't appear to have like a ton of clean answers. Needs like an ECD, and you wonder how many of those are hanging out after sideboard. Well, there's the most Nassif card of all time. Spectral Sailor. Yeah. I wonder if Nassif just wants to go towards Typhoon now. I don't think this is bad for Gab.
Yeah, I wonder what the worst thing that could happen, because the Typhoon seems totally fine. Well, what's the worst thing that could happen on the other side?
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. And I'm trying to think of what's the worst thing that can happen for Nassif here, and what's the best thing that Israeli can do.
Right.
Yeah, Israeli does have at least one Shark Typhoon, so...
Yeah, Nassif considered just running the Spectral Sailor out there. So here's Shark Typhoon for 3. But this is the reason, I suppose, not to run out the Sailor, is that Nassif can make one bigger Shark that can attack through or even eat this Shark if Israeli decides to get aggressive, which they did not.
Yeah, so we start here. Okay.
But you have to throw both of them in front to get rid of the Shark, which is, well, I guess.
All right.
Pesach says, sure, let's do it. And that does allow them to keep the Teferi on the battlefield, of course.
So do you shoot your shot now with ECD?
That's the question, isn't it? What's the worst thing that could happen? It gets...
Like negate?
Negate?
Like that kind of card?
Veto style card, yeah.
Yep. Narset's good to have down.
Yeah.
It's a tough choice between these two. Looks like you took Gust. Okay, so
it's a big turn.
Okay. Yeah, so we're just playing a tap out game this turn. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And there's no and negate and that kind of stuff doesn't matter once you hit the Narset here. It's clear sailing. Archon is going to resolve. And I really appreciate this from Nassif, just continually putting this Archon of Sun's Grace and saying, look, you have to deal with this. If I get to untap with this thing, it could be a disaster for you.
Yeah, it's really bad news. Mm-hmm. Or I'll say this. It's the potential of bad news. And that's more than enough.
Exactly. If I'm Pesach, I'm like, I don't feel comfortable letting that stick. And, for example, they could use Teferi Time Raveler to put it back in hand once again, but now Teferi's gone. That's a big cost. I just love it. I feel like we're getting a chance to watch Nassif prod and just sort of keep applying pressure to different parts of the game plan here. And it feels like eventually it will crumble, unless Israeli can come up with something to kind of go back over the top of it. And look at that. There goes Teferi.
And there goes Teferi at no gain, by the way, because it bounces Archon, but you don't get to draw a card because Narset's on the battlefield. Ooh, Narset whiffs. It's rare.
It doesn't happen too often.
Nope.
You can also see that that Pesach has 7 cards in hand. They're all spells. No land there. What's with the main phase Spectral Sailor here?
So I was thinking the same thing. And again, this is another one of those times where I'm like, I'm sure there's a reason for this, but I don't know what the reason is.
Is the reason that Nassif thought the Teferi was still on the battlefield?
I don't know.
That can't be it. That can't be
it. Yeah, I'm just like, there's a reason you did. Because there were multiple times that he thought about casting it on his main phase when Teferi was on the battlefield.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's a non-zero chance that he was like, oh, why I have to cast the main phase now, and that not being true. But, oh well, it's out there now.
Well, we're going to see Dream Trawler hit the battlefield here. And it doesn't look like Nassif has anything to say about it. So, it feels a little bit in Dream Trawler we trust here for Pesach, because right now that thing looks pretty difficult to deal with. One thing that can happen is Archon can go off, and if you get 2 or 3 enchantments on the battlefield, you can just build up enough blockers to just block Dream Trawler, in which case it wouldn't be good enough.
Well, let's not forget one thing about Dream Trawler. I want to make sure I get this right too. Is with Narset on the battlefield, Dream Trawler cannot get any bigger than a 4 or 5, right?
Yeah, the first draw step will trigger it, and then the rest won't.
And the others won't. So that means that Urian basically has that bricked until Narset's off the battlefield.
Yeah. And then one of these means that the Dream Trawler doesn't get to attack at all.
Yeah.
Now, it's a good blocker as well, but...
Yeah, but basically it's a really, really expensive 3/5.
Yeah.
As it stands. And so...
That's pretty rough.
What Nassif can do is swarm around that, right?
Easily.
He can just.
It'll take a couple of turns. Yeah, but another big Urian turn, or even just chaining together a few things, and that's going to do it. Yeah. Gabriel Nassif with an insurmountable lead, and it's exactly what you described there, Cedric. Pesach looked at the board and just said, "I am not going to have a chance here to be able to overcome this Archon. This thing, it got put on the battlefield multiple times, and every time it had a huge impact, and with no great answers. In fact, perhaps no answers at all. Realistically, that was going to be it. Gabriel Nassif through to the semifinals. Great run there by Pesach, who we'll see at the Players Tour Finals. But for now, it is the Hall of Famer Gabriel Nassif advancing to the semis. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll be giving you updates on the rest of the quarterfinals and eventually gearing up for the semis. We'll see you in just a bit.
Hello and welcome to The Bold, the fastest way to get to know the most interesting people in Magic. And right now I am joined by content creator Spice8Rack. Hello, Spice8Rack. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much. I'm having a grand old time and I'm feeling good.
Are you ready to answer some questions?
I am absolutely ready to answer some questions, yes.
All right. What is your favorite Magic format?
Commander. Yeah.
What's your favorite commander to play?
Noyandar, Royal Shaper, Royal Mage. That guy, the terrible, terrible Azorius commander.
What's your least favorite card to play against?
It was Agent of Treachery, but now that's gone. I guess it's Nissa Worldwaker.
What is the best tribe in Magic?
Oh, Goblins.
What's the last movie you saw?
Oh, I watched the movie Snowpiercer, actually. Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one. What'd you think of it?
Oh, I loved it. I've been watching the TV show, and boy, they do not understand the source material.
No. What are you reading right now?
I'm actually reading The Government of No One by Ruth Kinner. Last time we did this, I hadn't gone through it all. Now I have, and it's bookmarked and stuff. I'm reading it for a video.
What is your favorite breakfast food?
I love a bit of porridge. Ooh, bit of porridge and jam. Love that for me.
What's a song that makes you turn off the radio?
Anything by Taylor Swift.
And one last question for you.
Yes.
Can you name a movie that made you cry?
Iron Giant. Absolutely Iron Giant.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Where can we find you online?
You can find me online at YouTube at Spice8Rack. You can find me on Twitch at Spice8Rack. And you can find me on Twitter at Spice8Rack.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye.
If you thought for 1 second that this was going to go to anything other than 5 games, you were wrong. We're in game number 5. Strosky was just smiling and shaking his head and going, I can't believe I won that game. And Paulo was like, yeah, what? Been here before. Paulo has Ether Gust, and he can just get that Krasis out of there, and that will actually allow him to attack Andre's life total down to 13 while killing Oko.
But I think this is pretty much all Paulo has.
That was kind of it.
Right? Strosky is still sitting at 13 life, and he just has a questing beast that Strosky needs to deal with.
Paulo is completely out of gas here. He has 1 card left in hand. It's a land. And he's going to be very much at the mercy of the top of his library. He's going to take the 2 biggest threats, and when you mulligan to 5, this is the type of play that devastates you. All of a sudden, Andre Strosky is going to start attacking now for 8, and this could be over in a turn or 2 for Andre Strosky.
Paulo needs his own mass manipulation here to steal those creatures back. He has access to 8 mana. He has two geese with 6 lands in play. That's exactly the card that he needs to come back here.
He fought his way all the way back to win it, and now he's playing against somebody that when he first met him, he literally said, you're my hero. Like, you're the person I watch on this very stream, and I want to be like you, and he's on the verge of beating him in the finals of a Mythic Championship.
I mean, again, this is literally what you dream
about. Andre Strosky wins Mythic Championship 6. Congratulations, Andre.
Oh my goodness, what a turnaround. I mean, I thought Paulo had it. I thought Paulo had it in game 4.
I did too. Unbelievable. He stuck right in there, never gave up. Andre played so beautifully here in the finals and in the whole top 8. A well-earned victory.
Hello and welcome to The Bolt, the fastest way to get to know the most interesting people in Magic. And right now I am joined by the youngest person to ever cash in a Magic GP, Dana Fisher. Dana, where can we find you online?
On Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram, you can find me at Dana Fisher MTG, and then you can find me on my family's Twitch channel, Fisher Magic.
Awesome. I want to know, Dana, what is your favorite Magic deck ever?
My favorite Magic deck is definitely Elves.
Is that also your favorite tribe?
Yes.
What's your favorite color of mana?
Green.
I'm very surprised. What's your favorite?
Green, so.
Oh yeah, of course. What's your favorite Magic format?
Commander.
Who's your commander?
Tetiova.
Very good. I love Tetiova. What is your favorite food?
My favorite food is mac and cheese.
Oh, good choice. What is the last movie you watched?
Onward.
Was it good?
It was very good.
Where is somewhere you'd love to go on vacation?
Probably Japan, Brazil, or Australia. I was actually going to go to Japan in November before, but then...
Oh no. Yeah. Well, someday you'll definitely get to go, right?
Yep.
Are you a cat person or a dog person?
Definitely dog.
Do you like to stay up late or get up early?
Stay up late.
And one last question. What is your favorite song at the moment?
Queen of Mean.
All right. Thanks very much for talking to me, Dana. Can you remind us where we can find you on the internet?
Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram is at Dana Fisher MTG, and then also I will be appearing on my family's Twitch channel at Fisher Magic.
Awesome. Thank you very much for talking to me.
One piece of advice I give to players starting to play in competitive tournaments or playing in the first Pro Tour is don't get discouraged if you lose a couple rounds early. You got to stay mentally in the game, even after a couple losses. There's still a lot more tournament to play, and you just got to focus up and just do your best. You can worry about losing, you can tilt off, but do that after the tournament.
Hey everybody, welcome back to coverage of Players Tour Online number 4. We are working our way through our top 8 right now. Just finished with the quarterfinals and soon on to the semis. Let's take a look at our bracket though and find out who will be moving on. We'll let you know. Here's a look at the initial top 8 bracket. And we do have winners from these brackets as well. It's coming in so hot off the presses. We haven't had time to quite update this yet. But we do know, of course, we saw Gabe Nassif, best Israeli there in that last game. So Gabe Nassif moving on to the semifinals. Thomas White in that Thomas mirror is the victor there. So his copy of Azorius Control will be moving on to play Gabe Nassif's copy of Azorius Control. Oh boy, that's control on control action there. Also, we have a winner from Alexander Hain and Akira Asara. Akira Asara coming out on top there in that Teamer Reclamation mirror. And in the match of Thomas Hendricks versus Arne Huschenbett, Teamer Reclamation wins there. Huschenbett moves on to the semifinals. So congratulations to him as well. Great run for everybody who made it into our top 8, of course. And we've been saying it all day. They get to come back and play in the Players Tour finals coming up later this summer. So that's pretty awesome stuff. Marshall, any thoughts from you as we head into the semis?
Yeah, so we have 2 mirror matches. We've got Teamer Rec versus Teamer Rec, and then an Azorius Control mirror on the bottom half of the bracket. Kind of shows you how things played out, at least metagame-wise. We know that we're going to have Azorius Control versus Teamer Reclamation in the finals now. We don't know who is going to be piloting those decks, but that is how that's going to go. I have to favor Gabriel Nassif in the mirror match. Hold
up, Marshall. He just wrote in the chat, my worst matchup, the mirror.
Who wrote that?
Gabe did.
What?
Yeah.
He's joking. I mean, he's somewhat joking, but again, when if it is like a mirror, then it does come down to play skill, right? And of course the quality of your draw and how well you sideboard and all these other things. But that is at the end of the day, you have to really understand how the mirror works in order to outplay your opponent. And he says, I'm most definitely not joking. But
wow.
I just don't think that's true. I just don't.
He says, he's 50-50. I don't know if that's a Kappa. It means he's serious. Oh, no Kappa.
See, the thing is, maybe there's some humbleness happening, but it's not 50-50, right?
He's a humble dude.
Gabriel Nassif's in the Hall of Fame and is a super accomplished control player who really understands how these matchups work. Now, that's not to disrespect Thomas White, but I don't know who Thomas White is, and Thomas White's not in the Hall of Fame. So I'm giving the edge to Gabriel Nassif, not knowing anything else about the matchup.
Do you want to hear my joke about our semifinals that I came up with while you were talking?
Yes.
Does everybody have mustaches or goatees here? Because we must be in the mirror universe.
That was it? That was a joke? That was a big setup?
Yeah. Well, I'll apologize later.
Looks like you're a little
I'm getting
rusty.
booed out of chat.
Yeah, you haven't been doing the improv stuff as much as normal. It's like it's normal to get rusty. It's okay,
Okay, so while we wait to get our semis set up, we've got a little fun segment here for you planned. If you've been playing some Arena Cube Draft recently, which I know I have and you have too, Marshall, we want to take a quick second to talk about that because this is a brand new thing that you can do on Arena, drafting a cube, and we've got some of our top picks as well. So if you want to know what Marshall's picks are, and what my picks are, in fact, in Cube Draft. Take a look. These are some of my favorites. Gray Merchant of Asphodel. Ooh. Yes, you have to pick Gary. Hello. Have you been Gary'd out, Marshall?
No, I did have Gary in one of my decks, but it was a blue-black deck, so it wasn't really optimized for Gary. It was more like I needed something to do in that mana slot rather than it being maximized. Have you played mono black with Gary or heavy? Like, what are you building around to Gary?
Oh yeah, mono black. Mono black.
Oh, that's great.
It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. Of course, everything has to come together to play monocolor pretty successfully, but it was so good. And of course, Gray Merchant of Asphodel is just a huge, awesome payoff. I absolutely love it. And I put Zatalpa in here because this is just kind of a nod to the dumb stuff that you can do in Cube. And I mean, hello, this card is so stupid. And I love ramping into it. And I actually played a kind of a dino-based Naya deck, which was really, really fun. But it also played a lot of legendary creatures because I had Captain Sisay. So I can go find legends from my deck. So it was like a Dino Legend Naya deck. It was a plus. I had a ton of fun with that. And of course, I put Icy Manipulator in here because I just talked about Zatalpa. How do you deal with it? Boop. There you go.
Oh wow.
So you know, those are my top picks. I don't know. What do you think, Marshall? Give me a grade.
I give you an A.
Really?
Yeah, because I like that you went really narrow, right? Like I'm gonna maybe play some monocolor decks in the format. I think that's cool, but you also kind of spread your wings and fly by putting like Zatalpa, which is like the big dream or whatever, right? So
absolutely. Zatalpa, I think I had a ton of fun with. And the Gary thing was just silly, and it's definitely one of my favorite cards. It's been printed in Magic, so I'm really happy to see it actually show up in this Arena Cube. Did you have a deck that you drafted in Cube that you just like loved more than anything?
Yeah, there's a few. I really liked the blue-green flash deck, which is why I have Nightpack Amateur on here. Mm-hmm. Oh, and there actually is a third card that I never got a chance to send in that I'll mention in a second. But Nightpack Amateur, look, the truth is that that's the type of card that when you see it in Cube, it's like, oh yeah, that's a good card. It's not, right? Like 4 mana green creature that kind of doesn't do that much is never what I want to be doing in normal Cube, like in think Legacy Cube or Vintage Cube. But in this Cube, the power level's down. It doesn't have access to some of the really old, really broken Magic cards from Magic's history. And so you need to kind of adjust a little bit. So I took a pretty early Nightpack Amateur and just said, why is this in here? Maybe they have a blue-green flash deck or something. I got a Frilled Mystic, and I'm like, wait a minute, there is absolutely a blue-green flash deck. I ended up with a pretty good version of it, but I see it most of the time I draft. So that to me is one of the cool archetypes that actually works in this Cube, where if you play that in regular Cube, you're kind of like, it might be cool, but you're not winning that much. You can actually win with it in this. And then I like Riel the Everwise as one of the headliners for the blue-red spells deck. That deck's very real here as well. Tons of rewards for, casting or having them in your graveyard or doing anything to do with spells. You can just load up on a bunch of cards that basically cycle or give you an effect for cheap. And then the third card that I don't think I've ever passed ever in any Cube, Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. They put Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger in this Cube. Now, it's probably the worst that it's been because there isn't that much in the way of mana ramp in the Arena Cube. Certainly not what we're used to out of the other cubes that have all these, Grim Monoliths and, Blank Monolith and all of those, cheap, even Signets and stuff like that. Those aren't here. There's in regular cubes, you'll find one of every type of elf. Those aren't here, just a few there. So it's not the same thing. But if you get to put Ulamog on the stack for 10 mana, your chances of winning the game are so much higher that it's worth building for. And so I basically never pass Ulamog. It's my favorite ramp payoff ever.
Well, Marshall, you are the Ceaseless Hunger. I mean,
and
that's
I'm hungry
just you
right now, and I just had pizza. I am. I'm not
Once
kidding.
You told
I'm
me
hungry.
Anytime you see me, I'm hungry. And it has been 100% true all the years I've known you.
Yes. I've never let you down.
So, you got to draft after your own heart. Ulamog, the ceaseless hunger. Therefore, Marshall.
Yeah.
But awesome stuff. I've been loving Cube Draft on Arena. I hope we see a lot more of it in the future. It's been so fun. And I feel like I've only scratched the surface of playing it so far. But yeah, we are going to get back to the action here in Players Tour Online number 4. We've got our semifinals coming up in just a little bit. So we're going to take a tiny brief little break here and we'll come back in, take a look at the bracket, and get to playing some Magic.
Hello and welcome to The Bolt, the fastest way to get to know the most interesting people in Magic. And right now I'm joined by cosplayer, streamer, and scrappy ne'er-do-well, Tappy Toeclaws. Tappy, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me as Tappy Toeclaws on basically everything.
Okay, easy. What is your favorite Magic deck ever?
My favorite Magic deck ever. Let's go with my Joyra EDH deck. I quite like that. Also, I have a Dinosaur EDH deck because dinosaurs.
What is the best dinosaur?
The best dinosaur is obviously Utah Raptor because it would be large enough for me to ride on it, but it's still a Velociraptor, so I still have a big brain, so I'm pretty sure I could tame and befriend it so it would let me.
It would kill you and eat you.
I've thought about this. No, James, we are both dinosaurs. We would talk to each other, obviously. You've never met a dinosaur. The one dinosaur you've met has not killed and eaten you, because that's me, so...
It's true. All right, noted dinosaur expert. You know your stuff.
I do.
What is a card you'd like to never see in Magic again?
A card I would never Croson Grip. It could just go away forever.
What is the best guild?
Is it? Obviously. Well, I got the Guild Master right behind me, so...
Who's your favorite character you've cosplayed as?
Let's go with Joyra, because I'm quite sure that character is just me.
What's the hardest cosplay you've made?
What's the hardest cosplay I've made? Well, I made my Domri for the Secret Lair release under quarantine, so let's go with that one. That was an interesting project.
What country has the best food?
Oh, I mean, everyone. Wherever I am, whatever country I'm in, and whatever I get to try is the best. Although I was just in Montreal, and that specifically was an amazing food experience.
And one last question for you. Are you a cat person or a dog person?
I am 1,100% a dog person.
Yeah, that tracks. All right. Right. Thank you very much for that. Once again, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me on the internet as Tappy Toeclaws, TappyToeclaws on everything.
Hey everybody, welcome back to coverage of Players Tour Online. We are gearing up for the semifinals here in our top 8, and we are in for a control mirror. So if you like this kind of Magic, get ready. You're not going to see a better example of it. If you don't like it, get ready. You're going to see some awesome Magic anyway, because we've got a Hall of Famer playing one of the decks that he's known for, Azorius Control in the hands of Gabe Nassif, versus Thomas White, also on Azorius Control. Here's a look at our bracket. Our other two players, Akira Ashara on Temur Reclamation and Arne Hushenbet on Temur Reclamation as well. We'll see if we can check in with them later, but I have a feeling this Nassif match is going to go for a long time. But enough of me. Let's get down to the match and our semis.
And thank you, Maria. So let's get underway here. Gabriel Nassif versus Thomas White in the Azorius Control Mirror match.
Yep.
Probably neither of these players thought that they would be seeing too much of this. But here it is.
It's time to grind it out there, bud.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not a lot of ways for this to end quickly.
I'm going to say this. I know you've already said this. You've at least iterated this. Thomas White, I'm sure you're a very nice human being. I don't know you personally. Nassif is really good at this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be an uphill climb here for Thomas. But like I said, I'm not picking a favorite. I'm just saying that Nassif, I think, is favored given his experience doing this for so long.
Yes. And this is not just playing Magic. This is playing control mirrors, these blue-white ones specifically. And we're going to settle right in here. So let's take a look at the hand from Thomas. Looks like nothing to do here on turn 3 whatsoever. Now, interestingly for Nassif, he He actually does have multiple things to do here. Teferi or Narset, and going to lead with a Narset.
Okay.
We also see full control enabled here by Thomas. Pretty important, actually, in a scenario like this.
Assuredly. It looks like Narset's going to find an Omen of the Sea. So we're going to see both players look to deploy the 3-mana Planeswalkers to get things to start. And both players, conceivably, Marshall, could have Narset and Teferi on the battlefield at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Not that hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if things go the way that they look right now, both players will have both Planeswalkers. That said, Nassif could take a turn here and play out an Archon of Sun's Grace, for example, try to get something going with that before it can get Elspeth Conquers Death or something along those lines. I don't anticipate it necessarily, but we have seen that Nassif, when he sees an opening to land an Archon, he often will take it.
Yeah, with the idea of, okay, I played my Archon, you bounce with Teferi, I replay it, and then what's your answer? Now, in this instance, it looks like it could be an Elspeth Conqueror's Death, assuming one of the lands, ideally land number 5 enters the battlefield and tap, which it won't right now. So,
sure. Yeah, I don't know the number of Shatter the Sky that these players are playing, specifically Thomas, but that could be a consideration for Nassif. I run out my Archon, you just play Shatter. That feels pretty bad. But they have deck lists, so Nassif will know for sure, and I don't know that answer for Thomas.
Well, there's your Archon, so we're going to try.
Getting some information on who Thomas is. That's actually McWinsauce, who plays a lot on Magic Online and crushes. Yes, McWinsauce. Yes. I'd like some extra McWinsauce with my nuggets. Thank you very much.
Well, if you're buying me nuggets, I'll take some McWinsauce.
I am.
Okay. All right.
And then somebody in chat says Thomas White got the blue-white list from Gabriel Nassif.
I had a
Thomas
feeling.
didn't test it all.
Well, must be nice.
Jeez,
to be
get
so
into
good
the
at Magic.
semifinals, no tests. Still, what we were saying before stands, right? Gabriel Nassif is still going to have more experience, but this is going to be a tough one for Nassif. Thomas White with a lot of experience playing, pretty high level Magic Online, and this is his jam. So
he's a winning player. I'm sure over my 15 plus years of playing Magic Online, I've run into him a time or two and probably lost. if I had to guess.
But that's great for us because that means we get to see two high-level blue-white mages battle it out here.
I'm curious do we go back to Archon now? So
that is the question, isn't it?
So you're gonna lose Narset.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you'll probably lose no. What is this? Okay, so you're gonna go to Omen first. Okay. Casket, ECD. Okay, so ECD is definitely the better of the two. And then I guess what's interesting here is, like, if you play Teferi, do you plus or minus? Okay, so minus is going to bounce a token. So now here's the fun part. Token kills what?
Right. You get to kill one of these planeswalkers, Thomas.
Yep.
It's your choice.
Now, given that you've just drawn a Dovin's Veto, your 5th land doesn't enter the battlefield on tap to play ECD or Urian, you can make the argument of, I want to kill Teferi to turn on the veto. I think. But if you do that, and you leave the veto, that means you're not deploying Narset, so now you're just putting your shields down entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an Omen of the Sea, and that means that Temple of Enlightenment's going to hit the battlefield, and nothing doing here for Thomas White, though we do get to see that choice being made on which one of these to kill.
So we're going to kill Teferi. Okay. Now, my next question is if you're Nassif, do you just redeploy Teferi, or are you Archon plus Omen, make a Pegasus?
Yeah, that's interesting. You'd have to do them both now, but you get 2 creatures up to block the 1/1 to protect your Narset. If you play Teferi, and minus it on the token, then you will have Narset and Teferi just like your opponent does.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very tempting as well. It kind of keeps things at an even keel.
Now, you can definitely go this route, too, because the door is wide open for Elspeth Conquers Death. And I think... Okay, so this is interesting because that 1/1 token that 1/1 token is going to finish off the other Planeswalker.
Mhm.
Now, if you're Thomas, do you want to play Big Bird, or do you want to play ECD, killing the opposing ECD?
That's a good question. And I'm really curious to see what Thomas does here, because that can absolutely be a way to stop Nassif from getting ahead by killing the opposing Elspeth Conqueror's Death. And we have seen that play happen more often, I think, than you'd think if you just sort of took a quick survey of the scene. And that is what we see here, Cedric.
Okay. Because, like, if you play Big Bird, you get to reset Omen, but not really much past that.
Mm-hmm.
Though I'll tell you, that Omen's looked pretty good. I mean, that little bozo has killed 2 Planeswalkers.
Yeah, and you can see Thomas's setup for next turn is so much better, where you go Big Bird, and now you can reset ECD if there's a target for it. You can get a card out of Teferi before you do so, and then, of course, you get the Omen as well. Where before, like you said, if you would have just gone for it here, it just would have been basically the Omen, and that really isn't that good.
Yeah.
So good setup here for Thomas. I wonder how Nassif can get in the way of it. Nassif has 6 spells in hand. I think it's a stacked hand.
So he could play 2 Planeswalkers. His Dovin's Veto is shut off, so that card. So when I look at situations like this, I just try to eliminate cards from hand. So Dovin's Veto, it's a blink.
Mm-hmm.
Could play Narset and Teferi in the same turn. Minus bounce a token, minus Narset, find a new card. Could play Archon. Could play Archon plus Omen of the Sea. Make a 2/2 Pegasus, scry 2. Okay, so he's going to go start here. He still has the ability to play Archon this turn. So your turn could be Archon Teferi, or you could play Narset minus. And get your 2 Planeswalkers established again, which it looks like that's where he's leaning. Maybe.
There's also Birth plus Omen, but you got to figure you want that Archon down before you start deploying those if possible.
Yeah, I think you...
Jeez, another whiff.
That whiff kind of stinks too, because like you're kind of interested in land 8, so you can play Archon plus enchantment, plus other enchantment, because your veto doesn't do anything right now.
And the reason you're saying that is because it was 4 lands all going to the bottom.
Yeah. You kind of would have liked to actually find a land 8 so you could do all that stuff in one turn. Yeah. I guess you actually still can do that, assuming he's got enough white sources, which he does. Yeah, because he can go Archon, play Birth of Meletus, get my planes, play that planes, play Omen, make another 2/2 scry 2. So he can do that stuff.
Yep.
So he's all right. I guess there is also the ECD tax, so he can't do all of that stuff. Boy, this game is becoming a mess.
Yeah, this is really getting into the full-on blue-white mirror territory. Here comes Yorion. And again, a beautiful setup here by Thomas White. Going to get a lot of value this time. Just going to leave Teferi on the battlefield, I suppose.
So I guess the best card for Nassif to find now is probably his own Elspeth Conqueror's Death.
Mm-hmm.
To try to get back into this, but if the ECD that just came back takes care of Teferi, that doesn't work.
Ooh,
that's not terrible.
Not terrible, but I also keep looking at that Archon of Sun's Grace as if Nassif does feel like he's fallen a bit too far behind. Like taking a look at the board here, the Archon's really good if it gets to pump out a couple of flyers.
Yeah,
it'll hold back Yorion. It can take over the game over the course of a few turns, and there currently isn't a hard answer for Thomas. It's just the ECD on the battlefield with Teferi, but that requires a little bit of work to get done as well. So I am curious to see what happens. The real issue here is the Teferi, right? Shutting off that Dovin's Veto to protect a card like Archon of Sun's Grace is doing serious work there and really making Nassif work hard here.
Now, interesting thing. Shatter, you can't play instant speed because of opposing Teferi, so if you're going to shatter, you got to shatter now. Yeah. Also, on Thomas's side, It is interesting that he didn't play his Omen of the Sea on his turn.
Mm-hmm.
Because he can't play it on end step because of opposing Teferi.
Mm-hmm.
And the
so
Dovin's
it's just
Veto.
going to get stuck.
Yeah, so I think it's funny because this wasn't that long ago. I think he was supposed to play Omen right away, and probably start there. But I guess
Makes sense.
No, because there was a Narset on the battlefield that ECD killed. Nope, never mind. I just remembered
Sure.
that. Yeah, okay.
All right. Well, it's not the most mana efficient way to approach things, but you do what you got to do when you spend 8 mana for an Omen of the Sea and a Birth of Meletus.
No, it's not the most efficient. Yeah, and I guess
tax is real though.
Wow, this is so annoying. Okay, so he blinked out Elspeth Conquers Death, yeah? Yeah, because that came back and killed the Narset, so that means that it's not going to Chapter 3. It's going to Chapter 2 again, which means the tax is on again.
Yes. Okay. Yes, it does, and that's really annoying. He never risked Teferi, never left the door open at all for Nassif.
And so this means that white should be able to get Teferi off the battlefield, which means his Dovin's Veto gets turned on? Yeah?
Yep, that's what's happening. Yeah, this one's really slipping away from Nassif here. Thomas White playing beautifully. And it also is delaying the possibility for Shatter the Sky because of Elspeth Conquers Death sitting there waiting to bring back Yorion. And that is not the world you want to live in.
Nope. So yeah, as you mentioned, now if you catch Shatter the Sky, 1, ECD is going to bring back Yorion, but 2, you're going to give Thomas a card from Shatter the Sky because it's a 4-power creature.
That's right.
So Shatter actually ends up looking especially bad.
Wow. Tap 4 mana, or in this case, 6 mana, give your opponent a card. You're welcome. Like, that's what it does. And that, of course, has bought Thomas time to clean up the mess as far as Teferi is concerned. And then next turn, probably get in for a good chunk of damage as well.
Boy. I'm trying to think what's Nassif's best line here. Okay, so your opponent has Teferi, so your Veto's still bad. Your own Teferi is not particularly good. It just seems like it's okay, right? What's best case scenario for this Teferi? Well, we'll never find out.
Probably that.
Cool. Archon gets eaten alive by ECD.
Yep.
Shatter.
That hand from Thomas is legit.
His hand's awesome.
Yeah.
Shatter would actually kill this stuff now, even though, I mean, obviously there's the Elspeth tax, so you can't work through it. But Shatter would kill all this stuff now, but with multiple copies of Urian in hand, you don't care if you get shattered.
Not at all. Yeah, this just looks like a very difficult, and this is with what we know, Nassif is working with less information and is in a really tough spot. And is just going to end up passing the turn back here. Omen of the Sun on end step for Thomas.
Yeah. I think Thomas is extremely far ahead. Now, the good news here for Nassif fans is that the tax has been lifted by ECD. It's not there anymore, so there's that, I guess. No, it's just a lot of beatdowns.
Sorry, I lost you there for a second, Seb. I could hear you, but it's coming out of the wrong speaker, so.
Oh, you good now there, bud?
I am good.
All right, he's back.
There. Things haven't improved for Gabriel.
No. No, they have not.
And look at this, just adding a Yorion to the board with a Yorion already on it, just for the Val.
Okay. Oh, boy. That's... That's a lot. Okay. Well,
That's a lot of value for Thomas White.
I don't know. This doesn't seem okay.
No, this is mean.
Because then doesn't Urian come back and you just blink out Omen of the Suns and you just blink out all your omens, right?
Yeah, look at this. This is insane.
What? Okay, so you remember when, like, oh my gosh. So remember when, like, Urian was like this thing that was looming over standard before the companion change, and now people are just going to play it their main deck and not even do the 80 card deck, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh,
and this is this is just going to end up being a better version or something, right? Like, this is insane. This is happening twice in one turn. Like, sure.
Yeah, that's okay. And then Nassif.
So
Okay,
then the other ones don't come back till later. That's weird.
So Nassif exiled his Teferi with Urian.
Mm-hmm.
Because Thomas exiled his Teferi.
Mm-hmm. His everything.
Because, like, Nassif just has to play in his main phase anyway, so there's no reason to actually have Teferi on the battlefield, I think. And then it'll come back on the end step and keep doing Teferi things on Thomas's turn. Wow.
What just happened there? We saw an oops from Nassif.
I don't know if Nassif, like, wanted to shatter. I mean, he's dead.
What just happened there? Wow. Okay, so we got to oops into a concession. Yeah, he didn't like the way that he sequenced that, no doubt about it.
So he didn't shatter. So what comes back? 2 Omen of the Suns for 4 tokens, and Omen of the Sea and a Teferi?
So did he just pull Archon of Sun's Grace off of his hand instead of Shatter the Sky? Is that what happened?
I mean, it looks like he sequenced incorrectly insofar as I think he wanted to Shatter first.
Okay.
Then Archon. Then whatever.
And he Archoned first.
Yeah.
And then he just scooped?
I mean, move on to the next one.
Okay. I'll accept. So Thomas White.
The mistake was that bad.
Yeah, Thomas White really positioned himself beautifully that game, and you can see why he has a reputation for not only winning a lot but playing blue-white. And yeah, that was impressive.
So much sauce for the McWin. Marshall, I mean,
I shouldn't have told you that.
This is your fault. The question that people are dying to know: what is your go-to sauce for your chicken nuggets?
Sweet and sour.
My man.
You too?
Yeah, McDonald's.
Yeah, well, that's what we're talking about here, right?
I'm close. God, we're the same person.
Yeah, I know. This happens so often. We end up on the same side as, especially food fights, but it's not just that.
Someone said hot mustard. Yeah, more like hot garbage. Get that out of here.
Yeah,
it's sweet and sour all day.
Hot mustard apple juice? Come on.
No, kindly leave. Someone make me a mod. That person needs a timeout.
I said good day, sir.
It is sweet and sour all day.
Uh-oh, somebody said McDonald's. Ew. Look, it's not the highest quality stuff, but when you grow up on it, you get a taste for it, man. It's just it's what it is.
Okay, tough guy. When it's 2 o'clock and you're hungry, where do you go? I know where I go.
I like it. I mean, I like it. What do you want from me?
The arches shine bright at 2 a.m. after just 0-3ing another draft on Magic Online. Thank you.
Oh, God.
All right, and they serve breakfast all day.
I've been there, buddy. Yeah, that was a big day for me when they did that. All right, game number 2 incoming in our semifinal. Thomas White versus Gabriel Nassif. Thomas playing the aggressor here, running out the Spectral Sailor on turn 1, getting in.
Hey, you know, you laugh, but that Spectral Sailor might deal like at least 5.
Yes, it could.
It got played ahead. It got played before Mystical Dispute could even counter it, and Mystical Dispute would probably want to counter that card at some point. So
yes, and it also does things like if you want to play a Teferi and minus it right away to try to hit a land drop or whatever, you're going to lose your Teferi. Yeah. At least unless they have something else to hit. But yeah, anyway, Omen of the Sea now for Nassif.
All right, couple lands. Oh, so yeah, we're gonna play this little thing, right? We're not gonna play my Planeswalker on 3, which
Yes,
no one does. Yeah,
no one does. I feel like you and I need to build a deck that just capitalizes, or at least a play style that just capitalizes on the fact that nobody does it.
Just screw it. I'm casting my thing. Come and get it.
There you go.
I'm probably wrong for what it's worth. It's probably not even close to correct, but I like to jam.
All right, Teferi Time Raveler on the stack now, and this is a juicy Mystical Dispute target, but you do see that Nassif has his own copy.
Yep. This is one of those spots where it's like, if you're not disputing this, what are you disputing? I guess this game is going to take a longer time, so this forces Nassif to have his own dispute, which he does.
Yeah, it is interesting. That is one of the things that, at least with Teferi, it really does force the issue, right? Like you're like, hey, you got counterspells in your hand, and I'm going to cast Teferi. It's kind of like you just are compelled to cast those counterspells. The time when you choose not to do so, says that you have a lot of faith in the fact that you're going to be able to get that Teferi off the battlefield and keep it that way. And that just isn't the case in Standard very often.
Yeah. It is worth noting.
Well, that was a little awkward, wasn't it? Only one blue source there?
Yep. You beat me to it. That's what I was going to say.
Wouldn't have been the worst to be able to play an island and just recast the Spectral Sailor here.
Would have been totally fine. All right, so now this fun question of, are we just going to play a main phase game? It looks like the answer is yes.
I love it. Hey, let's just get some tap out going here. You know what's fun? Tap out control decks.
That's right.
These are fun to commentate and fun to watch. Stuff's happening on board, big swingy effects, etc. So that's Elspeth Conquers Death sending Teferi packing. And as you can see just by a snapshot of the board here, Nassif looking good. Thomas taking a look at Field of Ruin and perhaps considering using it to find another blue mana source and knock a Castle Vantress out of the way. And that's exactly what's going to happen. And that leads the way for Narset. Parter avails to hit the battlefield, and we're back to our old tricks here.
Okay. Little tax. Little plus. Yeah, maybe Azorius is the answer right now in this format.
Yeah, it could be. It really could be.
It seems really good.
We're going to get to see it play against Temur Reclamation in the finals, regardless of who wins this or the other match. So we'll have another good little data point there to see how it plays out in depth. Thomas missed on Narset. Okay, that's stinky. Man, chat finally came around to my way of viewing the world. Land, Shark Typhoon, go.
I mean, it might not be bad.
Yeah, I think it's just like, it always ends up being that if your opponent just ECDs it, it's just like, you could have had a free card and a free 5/5 flyer or whatever, and instead you put out a super juicy target for your opponent's 5-drop. Like, it's a pretty big swing. Even I have to get real at some point. All right, so Elspeth Conquers Death is going to take care of Narset on the other side, and then a Temple for a little scry. Sure.
I guess the downside here is I don't think ECD is bringing anything back.
It does seem
to be right about that.
Maybe the Teferi could come back later, but it is hard to leave the shields down. But Nassif could conceivably, minus a Teferi, play a Teferi, and then bring back the other one for a little loyalty bump. It's not a big deal, though.
Okay.
Yeah, we're talking minor value.
Yeah, look at the little fella.
Wyatt Darby said, "I've reported Gab to the DCI for not hard casting his Typhoon."
Appreciate
I got
that,
bad
Wyatt.
news. Think the DCI is gone now.
Yeah, I'm not even sure it exists anymore.
Yeah. Now I have a
like that.
nearly useless 7 strings of numbers that I've memorized in my head.
Yeah, mine's never leaving.
Yeah, me neither, but apparently I don't need it.
So Teferi bounced ECD. Now we recast Teferi. ECD in hand as a weapon to be used later. I guess you could. Well, I mean, you could bounce the Sailor.
Yeah, it does work. It's a steep loyalty cost, but it does work.
I guess this turn, yeah, you can just do like the 1-2 punch, like Teferi, Narset, bouncer thing, minus my Narset, and then
you have an empty board with the 2 planeswalkers that you want in the matchup. Yeah.
Yeah. And then your
like
hand looks pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
This goes poorly if the opponent has Shark Typhoon.
Right. If they made a 2/2 shark. So Nassif's just going to plus. And then
I wonder if he's going to activate Narset.
I'm curious too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that answers that.
Just start chaining them together.
Yep. All right, draw a card. Untap, draw a card. There's a land. Huh.
We do have our first finalist lined up, Cedric.
Nice. Talk to me.
Akira Asahara defeats Arne Huschenbed, and that is 2-0. So Akira moving on to the finals with Teamer Reclamation.
Very nice. I know that name. I know. Oh, yes. Oh. I was like pretty sure Akira Asahara was like old school pro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. And back. Yes. That was a player I used to look up to a lot. Really innovative deck building. Yep.
It is really, really cool to see.
That is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, a quick look. Akira Asahara won GP Kyoto March 2003. Just a cool 17 years ago.
Love it.
Won a GP. Also in 2005. Most recent high finish was 2011 at Grand Prix Hiroshima in Standard.
I'm checking. Yep. Okay. Akira Asahara. It was Worlds 2005 with Enduring Ideal. That's where the love affair started for me.
That was in Yokohama. That's right.
Yes, that's where it began.
4th place with that. So
yes.
Yeah. Also, really interesting note here, Cedric, as our game plays out, about the nature of playing from home and some of the doors that it does open up. Because a quick look at the achievements list for Asahara shows every single achievement took place in Japan outside of Memphis, Tennessee 2008 Worlds.
Okay.
Which tells me that Asahara either prefers not to travel, doesn't have the ability to do so, maybe there's a reason, whatever, but likes to stick home in Japan. And, that can be tough because the truth of the matter is that at least in the, system that we're used to, it's all over the world. It's Europe, It's over here in North America, it's everywhere. And, that can be really tough if travel isn't an option for you for one reason or another. But obviously, Akira is a very good player. And we can see now making the finals of a high-level Players Tour event here. Pretty cool to be able to open up doors like that.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Well, Thomas White has got, I'm going to say this politely, some catching up to do. So an Archon and a Birth of Miletus, which is going to bring a 2/2 Pegasus along with it, assuming that this resolves. Nassif has this game. The biggest opponent right now is the clock. Well, for Nassif, it always is. Nassif's trying to beat two people always.
Yes. Which is why he's so good.
Yeah. All right.
By the way, I've got the whole chat now, including Eduardo, an actual good player, saying maybe just hard cast the Shark Typhoon.
Ooh.
Maybe just throw that out there.
You got these people on board, huh?
I do. It's the right thing to do. Like,
you know what?
Morally.
If Nassif's right now, I'm going to say this, put this on air. If Nassif hardcast Shark Typhoon in this game, 1 6-pack of nuggets headed your way.
Yeah, with my sweet and sour.
With a little sweet and sour. That's right. I'm going to get you invested in this. I'm not going to get you the combo meal, but I'll get you a 6-pack of nugs.
Oh, man, I'm so in for this.
All right.
By the way, perhaps an even better option for Nassif, Yorian Sky Nomad, doing the Yorian Sky Nomad thing. Bling, 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 bouncing planeswalkers, enchantments, and everything else.
Yeah, it's a pretty good card. Another Shark Typhoon? I don't know if that incentivizes him to cast one or not.
Oh, man. I get 6 nuggets per Shark Typhoon.
Oh, well, I like this stuff. Okay.
And if we get to 18, you know I'm making you round up to the 20, right?
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, you know what? I'm in. I'm all in, all the way. You have to round up. You can't round down. Oh, man, the Nassif deck, I think I'm actually really impressed. I think it's actually really good. Jeez.
Agreed.
And probably has a good matchup against Team Iraq. Otherwise, I don't know why you'd be playing it. So, and same thing for Thomas White. I mean, these two have kind of cut up this tournament.
They have. You know, I do wonder if it's the combination of good enough against Team Iraq and then the point that you brought up earlier about dodging main deck Aethergust as well. You know, there's some pretty serious, you know, you're looking for relatively small edges when you're talking about standard, right? It's not the type of thing that you bring a blue-white deck and you're like, well, you know, I'm 70% against the field. So, you know, it's you know, I'm going to pick up a percentage point here or there. And those are the types of things that can give you meaningful percentage, you know?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Teferi. Get that out of here.
Spectral Sailor still doing good work here, even, you know, allowing Thomas to at least maintain some type of pace on card advantage even through a Narset. By alternating, you know, I get a card here and a card there. This is a big one, though, for Nassif. It's Archon of Sun's Grace.
Another Teferi? Okay. So the only thing now, and Nassif has to, in my estimation, be concerned with, is the cycling of Shark Typhoon.
Okay.
I don't want to say the other stuff going on in Thomas White's hand doesn't matter, because I don't think that's fair, because it can come up, but it looks like to me, with how this game is shaping up, what's really going to matter is just how big a sharks he can make. And right now, we're looking at a 6/6, and those are pretty easy for Nassif to be able to chump or gang block or something like that.
Right. So there it is, 6/6 Shark Typhoon from Thomas on end step. This will be anticipated, though, by Nassif.
Mm-hmm.
Nassif's hand is completely stacked.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
I don't want to start bringing it up just yet here, Cedric.
Talk to me.
But 11 minutes, 52 seconds left for Nassif.
You should bring it up.
Yeah, gonna have to win this game. It might take a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And gonna have to win another one as well. And this is a tough mirror match. So something to consider for sure.
Yeah, you absolutely have to bring it up. You do.
Double block here from Nassif.
All right, so Big Bird down. Okay.
Big Bird down.
Yeah. No, Shark down.
Is that what is that for?
Ideally because you think that opponent has another copy of Big Bird in hand. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, but here we go. Archon of Sun's Grace can definitely take over a battlefield very, very quickly.
I guess also chapter 3, so you don't want to give your opponent Urian back.
There you go.
I think that's another reason. Okay.
But again, here's this Archon of Sun's Grace really starting to pump out a bunch of 2/2s, currently only facing down a Spectral Sailor. There's a Shark Typhoon in hand for Thomas. Now, Nassif doesn't know about that, but certainly going to be wary of it.
Yeah, I think we're about to
throwing creatures into it.
We're about to combo off.
Also, I have to say, Nassif's playing very quickly here. This is not a quick matchup, so it's difficult to do, but he seems to be pulling it off.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this game, I think, basically, Nassif can combo off Urian, just looping these enchantments and making Pegasus.
Mm-hmm.
But assuming that both players are sideboard outshadow this guy, there's not going to be any clean resets.
Right.
And so that means that Nassif can just churn out these Pegasuses. And I think this is actually going to be pretty easy because he's not going to attack with his Archon.
Right. You see he left that back. Doesn't mind Urian dying with an additional copy in hand. It's actually fine.
Yep.
But does kind of need to get rid of this Shark token.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree
at some point.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of just swarm around it, though, because now 3 more Pegasus are
you're right. That way. Forget it. It's just overwhelm it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shark token, you may stay on the battlefield. So Urian hits again. And there's Narset coming back as well as triple Omen of the Sea.
Shark token is something you can always bounce.
Yeah.
So
who's having fun now?
We are. Nassif is.
Nassif is definitely having fun now.
Yeah, but how much fun? Too much fun, maybe? TikTok goes that clock.
That's true. Down to 10 minutes. Plenty of time still to finish, but these matchups can go very long.
Is it worth countering? How much mana is available? 4? Okay.
Sure. I mean, you can certainly kill Teferi with your Pegasus army.
I wonder if he's supposed to counter Teferi. I think the answer is no, but it's just kind of curious.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's Urian.
Big Bird.
Archon of Sun's Grace got sent back to hand with Teferi there from Thomas. Chat was asking what happens when the clock runs out.
That's what happens.
It's not good news. If that happens, you do lose the match on the spot. So that is just absolutely not an option here, especially in the semifinals. So Nassif, again, playing briskly, but does need to just, finish off the game here and put himself in a position where he'll have enough time to play comfortably in the third game.
There we go.
Very nice there of Thomas, by the way, to scoop him up. Didn't have to do that.
I agree, but I'll also say Thomas is his clock is on the screen now too. He's got like 11 minutes left.
Okay.
Or maybe I think what I saw was like 11:44. So his time is also part of the equation now too.
Makes sense.
So now what we get into probably this game is, I mean, players might get a little loose.
I like it. I like it. Yeah.
It might be one of those situations where it's like, okay, we gotta play a little fast and loose because the final spot is on the line.
Cedric, I have for years been trying to come up with a way that we could structure a tournament that forces people to play that way.
Just really fast?
Like how they have those chess tournaments where it's like go, 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 go. It's not sitting there like, trying to break down every opportunity. It's more like how fast can you process this stuff? Go with your gut. How good is your autopilot? Yeah. I want to see a tournament like that. Like that would be really fun to watch. It's just I've never come up with a way to like time somebody properly.
Well, one of my favorite things about Magic Arena, it's a thing that I like from a spectator standpoint. It's something that is frustrating when I'm playing, but understandable. It's just the rope, where the rope is like, okay, it's time to make a play. Like I actually like that. You have to do something, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
Same. And I wouldn't even mind it. There's other games that have had that. And we have a similar version here too, but I would have it in my theoretical tournament where there would be a time when you could cash in a time bank, right? Where you could say, okay, this is the one time during this match that I get to actually take a little bit of time to do some math or to think. But for the most part, I'd want to see it go back and forth. Yeah. By the way, they're already predicting the finals of my fake tournament, LSV versus Shota. It's a good prediction.
LSV does play very fast.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen them play against each other? It is just blinding.
No, that's got to be awesome.
It is insane. I've covered it once, and it's just like, the thing is, what it reminds me of, Cedric? Play testing against, like when you're play testing against a teammate for an event where it's your friend, the person, you don't need to carefully explain every single action. It's just, they play a thing and you're going to do the thing and they know you're going to do the thing. So they just put it in the graveyard, right? And then you do the thing and put it in the graveyard. It's like that level, but they play like that at the Pro Tour. It's like, what is going on?
Yeah. It's pretty unreal.
So funny to try to follow because they'll just show each other a card and be like, yeah, okay, shake hands. Like no life totals exchanged. There's nothing on board. Like everybody's going, what happened? All right, game 3, Thomas White versus Gabriel Nassif. This is for a spot in the finals here, so this is it. Nothing left to play for these two, but these last two matches. And we are going to be keeping a close eye on clocks. Just under 10 minutes there for Nassif.
Okay. Both hands are good. Yeah, both hands are good. Yeah, this should be good.
This should be good.
Yeah, and Thomas's hand, I think he's got to search up planes. Yeah, okay, so his hand is reliant on Omen of the Sea, but he actually just drew an island, so it's less reliant on Omen of the Sea, and trying to resolve some planeswalkers. So away we go.
Nassif passes the turn back. Yeah, Omen of the Sea is going to hit the battlefield here for Thomas. And as have we become accustomed to, Thomas could just windmill slam Teferi and be way ahead, but probably won't do so.
He drew another copy, so I think it's kind of compelling.
Oh, interesting.
I like it, apple juice. Jam. Everybody jam. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Immediate response from Gabriel Nassif means Thomas is probably like, okay, yeah, you had. Oh, that's an Omen of the Sea. I get Teferi on the battlefield here.
I love it. Ram jam.
Nassif taking a little bit of time to plan here, but really does need to pick his spots as far as going in the tank.
That's true.
8 minutes and 8.5 minutes left on the clock there for Nassif. We're in the semifinals here. We actually already have our other finalist. It's Akira Asahara with Teamer Reclamation waiting for the winner of this blue-white mirror between Thomas White and Gabriel Nassif. We're in game number 3. We're just getting underway. It's turn 3.
Oh boy, Big Papa Nassif. He's in the Tankarooski. About to be down to 8 minutes.
I am already starting to get a little nervous. I'm not going to lie.
So am I.
Wow. Sometimes you hit, sometimes you hit. Look at that.
Yeah.
Want to dispute an Omen, an Narset, or a Dovin's Veto. Mystical dispute. I can't see Thomas's time, but Cedric and I saw it near the end of the last round, and it'll show under 12 minutes at first there. And when we saw it, it was 11 and change. So I'm assuming approaching 10 minutes here, maybe 11-ish. But a significant, I mean, that's a big, big, big time advantage over Nassif. Basically impossible for Thomas to lose on time if Thomas is paying attention to that in any capacity.
Yep.
3 or 4 minutes is a lifetime when you're playing the clock game.
Nassif probably think a Typhoon. Yeah, 3 counters.
Yeah, that's important too, because this Shark Typhoon's only going to be for 2.
Mm-hmm. I just got my eye on Nassif's clock.
I know. I keep finding my eye point at the lower left corner of the screen as well.
Okay, ECD. Cycling. That one's not great.
Heliod's intervention, yeah.
I'm trying to think of what card you tag here with your Shark.
Right.
If you tag Narset, you can't activate it again. But it's not off the battlefield. If you tag Teferi, you bring it from 3 to 1, then Teferi pumps to 2, and then you can kill it the following turn. But there's an opposing Teferi in hand that obviously Nassif doesn't know about. So I'm curious to see where the Shark goes.
Yeah, it's got to be tempting to hit Teferi for the reason that you said, primarily because if you don't, then Teferi just gets to kill your Shark anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Cash in for some value. But
yep.
Tough decisions already here for Nassif as the clock goes down to about 6 minutes and 30 seconds.
Oh, come on, big guy.
It is a factor. This is a big factor now.
What do we cast now? Do we try to play a main phase game? I mean, you have to play a main phase game, so you might as well do the best main phase thing. It's not even that good though. Like if you play Urain, you get to reset your Narset. You can blink out Omen of the Sea, but you're not gonna, and you get to scry 2, but you don't get to draw a card.
Yeah, that's
or
right.
You can try to resolve this.
So it's going to be Teferi Time Raveler on the stack, but that's probably going to prompt the Dovin's Veto here from Thomas, as it effectively blanks that card anyway for the foreseeable future. So it's going to hit Teferi, and that's it. Past the turn back, that's everything there for Nassif. Didn't even play the Omen there.
Doesn't do anything with Narset.
So you don't even want to scry, huh?
I don't.
I mean, how desperate? I'm feeling, if I'm in Nassif's seat, that I'm under some significant pressure here to get things going. Maybe that's too panicky, though.
Sure.
To throw away an Omen just for a couple of scries. I mean, I guess you do set up for your Yorion potentially if you can get rid of this Narset at some point. But
well, we got a mid-range game breaking out.
All right, and yeah. Thank you, chat. Points out that Thomas's time is now showing.
Yep.
At 8 minutes. So Thomas actually was a little lower than we thought coming in. It's 8 minutes to about 6 minutes. Again, if the players are paying attention to the clocks astutely, then that is basically Thomas can't lose to Nassif on a clock situation. If Thomas is, not focusing on that, then that can't happen.
Nassif, you're killing me.
Yeah, we are creeping down towards the 5-minute mark here. This would be a heartbreaking way for this to end. I'll say it already has an impact because Nassif's style, not only in the way that he approaches decisions where he's thorough and takes a lot of care in them, it also comes out in the way that he plays the games out strategically, where you will see him take almost no risks, try to minimize the risk that he takes over the course of the turns, and then finally push the advantage when it's insurmountable. And it's just feeling like that's not going to be an option here. Nassif is going to have to play like how you've been saying, Sid, or just jam,
Yeah, just a little fast and loose.
And there's nothing fast about this. And I hope we're not playing loose because
oops in the face of Narset. Oh yeah, we're playing a little loose now. It's time, man. We gotta make some choices.
Is that what was it? The Narset, or was it putting Dovin's veto? Like, what is going on here?
So he put veto on top, and I think he was expecting to draw the card, and he tanked on the scry for a while, figuring out what card he was going to draw, but he's not going to draw the veto. So then he just played Heliod's Intervention, blew up 2 enchantments, passed the turn.
All right, well, back over to Thomas, who plays Teferi Time Raveler to kill the shark, and now there's a Dovin's veto on top of the library for Nassif. Ugh.
Not great, Bob. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 mana. Start here. Okay, counter that. Yeah. All right, so main phase Omen of the Sea. Yep. I can check Teferi and Narset. Okay.
Yeah, hey, that's a lot better than nothing. No doubt about it. So there's Omen of the Sun, and then Omen of the Sea is going to hit for Thomas. So they each get 1 Omen.
Also sees clock 4:13.
Yeah.
Oh, those Omen of the
coming
Suns
up on
are nice.
The 4-minute mark. Yeah, really nice. This is game 3 of the semifinals, and it looks like it's falling apart here for Nassif. It's starting to get harder and harder to engineer a situation where he not only comes back from the position he's in now, which is behind. I mean, Yorion could help, at least in some ways, but the clock too. Even if you mount a big comeback, Nassif's going to need time to make that plan work. These 1/1s aren't going to get through.
Nope.
We're under the 4-minute mark now for Gabriel Nassif.
Yeah.
We're under the 7-minute mark for Thomas.
Yeah, I don't think clock's going to be a factor for Thomas.
Agreed.
Yeah, I just don't. It's too big of a lead for him.
Yeah, this is all the pressure on Gabriel Nassif at this point. And boy, he is facing a ton of it. Because not only does he have a lot of work to do to come back from this position, he has to do it in 3 minutes and 40 seconds. And he has to win in that time frame as well. We're not talking about get back to parity. We're talking about actually win the game.
Just cast a spell. Oh my God.
I know. This is rough.
Oh my God.
I think this one slipped away from him, honestly.
No.
Oh, this is going to get disputed.
Oh. Okay. I mean, that's a huge draw.
You hate to see it.
That's a huge draw. Okay. All right. So now he can play around dispute. Okay. So now he can do this. The blinking is not actually that good with the Omen of the Seas because he doesn't get to draw a card, but he does get the scry. He does get the scry 4, and then Omen of the Sun. He'll get 2 1/1s. Okay, so that's not so bad. Okay. I mean, I don't think he can come back.
He's going to have Yorion get ECD'd, and he's going to lose.
It's not looking good, Marshall.
Really rough spot here for Gabriel Nassif. Thomas White playing beautifully this match, I have to say.
There's a nice time waster. I mean, Field of Ruining the Castle is probably just correct, but it's just another click.
Yeah, I wonder if strategically if you should just let Nassif have the castle.
Another thing that he can.
If he ever activates it, you just win. He only has 3 minutes on his clock.
Ooh, Daddy's home. We found the shark. I think we like both of those. Nassif,
you need things with power and toughness at this point, right? I mean,
Nassif, just say yes. Okay, thank you. Go.
Under 3 minutes now for Gabriel Nassif.
Look, some people are chatting about, these games should be on time and all other stuff. No way. No way.
Mm-mm.
You don't get to sit here all day and do nothing. You got to make decisions in a timely manner.
Another copy of Elspeth Conquers Death. This one's going to take out Yorian. Nothing Nassif can do but simply watch. And maybe take solace in the fact that it wasn't the clock that beat him. It was Thomas that beat him, because Thomas is in firm control of this game. He is crushing Nassif right now.
Well, that's the card that can make a difference. And I don't want you to forget that. That Shark Typhoon is the card that can make a difference right now.
Yeah.
Now, is it going to take a little bit of luck for the Shark Typhoon to make a difference? Yes. Because obviously you need Thomas White to do some bricking here. And Thomas White's hand right now in the face of a Shark Typhoon is not good.
This is interesting, right? Shark Typhoon for the full amount, kill your Teferi. Okay, Thomas recognizes that he's actually going to put Omen of the Sea back into hand with Teferi.
If he would have hard-casted Shark Typhoon, it would have been some nuggets your way. Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, I know. I thought about
whammy.
It. Don't think I didn't think about it.
Okay. Scry 2. Ooh, an opposing Shark Typhoon.
Okay, so then it becomes a mana question. And
Nassif can do it further.
Has the advantage 3-6-9, 3-6-8. Yeah.
Did he mean to do that for 5? I don't think he did.
No way.
Daisy. I think he wanted to do 1, 2. Okay.
So the plan here is to slam Yorian and just try to reload and get a bunch of stuff going.
Gotta get a little lucky. 1, 2, 3, 4. Was that supposed to be a 6-6? Yeah, it was supposed to be a 6-6. Yep. Okay, that's pretty big.
It was.
Yeah, because this shark is a 5-5. Oh no, he's just cycling for a 1-1.
Just gonna keep Narset on the battlefield. Yeah, after having not quite as much mana left over, the shark wouldn't have been big enough anyway, right? It would have been. Gonna leave up these disputes. Here comes Yorian, but with Narset on the battlefield, Yorian's not even that big of a deal.
Nope, pay the 3.
And we're gonna see double dispute.
Mm-hmm.
Under 2 minutes now for Nassif, so things looking very dire, and then an Omen of the Sea to follow up here for Thomas.
It's not looking good.
Not looking great.
I thought there was a chance. Okay, both cards to the bottom. Peel, Plains, John Land, Thomas. That's game. Okay. All right. I was thinking like if he like bricked off one more time, maybe. But with Teferi coming back and now Shark Typhoon hard-casted for Marshall. Hard-casted. No.
Do it. No. How do you pull it out over the battlefield and then not cast it, Thomas? Oh my goodness sakes. That was such a sweat, Cedric.
Huge fade on the chicken nuggets there.
Oh my goodness. What happened? I had it. They were here.
Huge fade.
Wow.
The biggest fade of all time.
Unreal. 1 minute and 30 seconds left for Nassif.
Cycle it. Yes!
Cycle the Shark Typhoon. Yeah! And this is going to be a good game here. It looks like from Gabriel Nassif, 8-8. Shark to sort of hold things back. And with only 1.5 minutes left for Nassif, there's really no way out at this point.
Scary stuff there.
You're so lucky. He pulled it. He pulled it out of his hand. Unbelievable.
I'll take whatever I can get. Trust me. That's going to take care of that. Yeah. Now Nassif's against it insofar as, card quality. Tom has the better battlefield, and it just got significantly better. Teferi protecting the Jury and everything else. So he's going to wave the white flag, folks.
And that's going to do it. Tom White moves on to the finals, defeating the Hall of Famer, Gabriel Nassif. Very well played and very well done in an awesome semifinal match in the mirror there. That sets up our final, where we're going to have Team of Reclamation playing against Azoria's Control. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to be setting up for those finals. Don't go anywhere.
Hello and welcome to The Bolt, the fastest way to get to know the most interesting people in Magic. And right now I am joined by content creator Spice 8 Rack. Hello, Spice 8 Rack. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much. I'm having a grand old time and I'm feeling good.
Are you ready to answer some questions?
I am absolutely ready to answer some questions, yes.
All right. What is your favorite Magic format?
Commander. Yeah.
What's your favorite commander to play?
Noyandar, Royal Shaper, Royal Mage. That guy, the terrible, terrible Azorius commander.
What's your least favorite card to play against?
It was Agent of Treachery, but now that's gone. I guess it's Nissa Worldwaker?
What is the best tribe in Magic?
Oh, Goblins.
What's the last movie you saw?
Oh, I watched the movie Snowpiercer, actually. Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one. What did you think of it?
Oh, I loved it. I've been watching the TV show, and boy, they do not understand the source material.
No. What are you reading right now?
I'm actually reading The Government of No One by Ruth Kinner. Last time we did this, I hadn't gone through it all. Now I have, and it's bookmarked and stuff. I'm reading it for a video.
What is your favorite breakfast food?
I love a bit of porridge. Ooh, bit of porridge and jam. Love that for me.
What's a song that makes you turn off the radio?
Anything by Taylor Swift.
And one last question for you.
Yes.
Can you name a movie that made you cry?
Iron Giant. Absolutely Iron Giant.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Where can we find you online?
You can find me online at YouTube at Spice8Rack. You can find me on Twitch at Spice8Rack. And you can find me on Twitter at Spice8Rack.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye.
It is the finals, and it is getting real exciting down there. This one was looking like it was going to be over 1-2-3 punch for Ralph Zevran from Germany, but not so quickly, says Alvaro Fernandez Torres. He was mulligan to 5, down 2 games in the sideboarded games, and somehow found a great draw and a win in game number 3. It is now 2-1 in favor of Severin. Yeah, I like his play
killing
here.
The lands. Makes a lot of sense.
For sure. Who cares how big of a creature you make as long as I don't die next turn? He passes the turn back. It's 3 1-drops in hand, another copy of Hardened Scales plus 2 Nature's Claims, and Fernandez Torres has nothing he can do against Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger.
He needs to draw land plus Walking Ballista.
That's it. He has to do it.
Those need to be the exact 2 draws. He can actually stay alive
by blowing up his own Hardened Scales,
assuming he doesn't get decked.
Yeah, that's true. Ulamog is a hungry, hungry boy. He snaps off huge chunks of your library. 20 cards go away.
And here's the first attack trigger.
There it is, a 5/5 Walking Ballista, and there's really no way out here for Alvaro Fernandez Torres. It was simply too much from Ralph Zevran over the course of this match. Alvaro fought hard, he fought long, but he is way too far behind to come back now, and surely Zevran is on the brink of victory here in Barcelona. He's thinking about a card he could draw, but Damping Sphere certainly isn't it, and that's going to do it. You have your champion, Toralf Zevran. He looks over at his cheering section, and he's your champion.
Oh my goodness. 1 damage. He got down to 1 life, and he survives, turns it around. Ulamog exiling 2 key permanents in 2 of these games.
And his friends are mobbing him.
Hey everybody, welcome back to coverage of Players Tour Online. I'm Maria Bertholdi. I've got Cedric Phillips here, and we are gearing up for the finals. But Cedric, what a semifinals. It came down to literally the last seconds there.
Game Nassif, for better or worse, is known for his somewhat slow but very good gameplay. But unfortunately, in that Azorius control mirror, look, time was of the essence. But I think even if we were kind of playing on infinite timeline there, I think Tom White's draws were just better. I think he was probably going to win that 3rd game. So time was definitely a factor. But ultimately, we've got a matchup I think we already knew was going to happen with Team of Reclamation against Azorius control.
Yeah, it was fated since the semis that these two decks would meet here in our finals. Team of Reclamation in the hands of Akira Shaw versus Azorius Control, played by Tom White. So there's a look at our bracket in case you're just joining us, where we've been already today with our top 8. And that's right, we just have our finals left to go. We've already crowned one champion of a Players Tour today. Number 3, it was a sacrifice deck, no sacrifice found. Much to my chagrin here for making a bet that would win both tournaments here in this top 8. But yeah, a Team of Reclamation versus Azorius Control here in the finals. We're going to take a look at these two deck lists to set up the matchup. But just a general question for you here, Cedric. What do you think about this Teamer deck? I mean, it was great last week. Is it good here this week in this specific matchup versus Azorius?
I think this is a difficult one, here, for Akira Asahara. Ultimately, the reason that Tom White, Gabriel Nassif, and some others brought Azorius Control was probably to prey on this deck, and they've done a nice job of it over the course of this weekend. As good as Team of Reclamation is, and it wouldn't surprise me if it won this matchup, I do think that Tom White brought this Azorius Control deck for a reason, and it's probably favored. I know we're going to get to that graphic in just a second.
Yeah, so tell me which cards you think specifically here from Asahara are the key cards in this matchup, specifically for Control.
Taking a look at Nightpack Ambusher is a great place to start because you're going to need something to check those Planeswalkers, but keep your eyes on both Mystical Dispute and Negate. Those are in heavy numbers in the main deck, 4 and 2 copies respectively, along with Shark Typhoon is a 3 of. The biggest thing that Tom White has going for him is the fact that he has access to both Teferi and Narset in this matchup, and once those are on the battlefield, it's very difficult for Team of Reclamation to actually operate. As a result, you got to get those Planeswalkers off the battlefield, and then this powerful Teamer deck can do what it's been doing for the past handful of weeks, which is basically crushing everybody.
Yeah, and really cool to see Asahara making it here to the finals. An old school player who's had some success many, many years ago, coming out on top here in the Players Tour as well. So awesome job to him. Let's take a look at his opponent in the finals. Tom White, Azorius Control. I saw Kenji in the chat saying, well, he doesn't lose on Magic Online. Looks like he doesn't lose on Arena either. Tell me about this deck, Cedric.
Old Mick Winsauce has been just kind of destroying today, as he's been doing for a handful of years on Magic Online, as Kenji did mention. And look, I do think this was a really good matchup for this deck against Team of Reclamation. Many, many moons ago, before Companions, all the other stuff, Azorius Control was a deck that was there to prey on Team of Reclamation, and it did a nice job of it previously. I think it's going to do a pretty nice job here as well. Again, Teferi and Narset kind of lead the pack as far as cards that matter. You've got Dovin's Veto. The one copy of Aethergust can play a role in things as well. And while Shadow of the Sky isn't great in this matchup, same thing can be said for Elspeth Conquers Death. Those cards do have text, so they're definitely not dead draws 100% of the time, like, say, Aethergust on Asahara's side. So those cards, even the kind of the bad ones, are still totally fine here.
If we see Teamer Reclamation land a Wilderness Reclamation, is that necessarily bad news for the Azorius Control player?
Oh, it's definitely bad news, and it's the Azorius Control player's job to either make it so that it either doesn't happen or make it so that if it does happen, it's irrelevant. The way to make it not happen is, of course, countering it or taking it off the battlefield with Elspeth Conquers Death and Teferi. The way to make it irrelevant is actually having Teferi on the battlefield, so the fact that you're getting all that mana in your end step is entirely irrelevant.
Yeah, and to kind of flip the script here, Azorius Control basically just needs to be in control of the game, make sure that Wilderness Wreck doesn't hit the table, and just kind of start to accrue card advantage through things like Teferi Time Raveler and Narset to kind of get ahead in the game.
Yep, that's the game plan. Again, this matchup I think is going to be based solely, at least on the Azorius Control side, around those two Planeswalkers, Teferi and Narset. If those are on the battlefield for a little while, they're kind of accumulating advantage as they do, and their statics are very important in the matchup. I think Tom White is able to win this one, and that doesn't even get into the sideboards, which I know Marshall and I will get into after game number 1.
Yeah, we'll see if Mick Winsauce can live up to his name here in the finals. All right, it's time to crown another champion. It'll be finals time when we come back here in just a minute. Don't go anywhere.
Hello and welcome to The Bold, the fastest way to get to know the most interesting people in Magic. And today I'm joined by Jessica Leonard, aka Inkland Customs. Jessica, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Patreon at Inkland Customs. That's INKLIN Customs.
Awesome. So, I'm going to get straight into some questions. What is the best color of mana?
I think red, maybe. I'm a very aggro player sometimes. But I like green, so I don't know. Yeah, I would say red.
Do you have a favorite Magic character?
Magic character?
Yeah.
I'd still go with Rat. Like, does she have a card? Because I really enjoyed her in that book.
Do you have a favorite Magic art?
Yeah. I definitely would have to say Wolfhard Silverheart. It was what got me into Magic.
And a favorite artist?
Scott Fisher and Rebecca Guy. And there's so many. Howard Lyon. They're all my favorite.
What do you think the cutest card art is?
The cutest? Oh, like any of the Japanese planeswalkers. Oh my god, I was so excited when those came out. The Arlingcord's my favorite of those. They're freaking adorable.
Are you a cat person or a dog person?
Probably a cat person. I just like animals.
What is the best breakfast food?
Best breakfast food would probably be eggs. So good.
What's the last TV series you watched?
Tuca and Birdie. I just rewatched that.
Oh, it's really good.
So good. I'm so excited that they're getting a second season.
Yeah, same. What is a movie that made you cry?
Grave of the Fireflies. Every time.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't matter how many times I've watched it.
Yep. All right. That's it for the questions. Thank you for talking to me. But let me know again, one more time, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me at Inkling Customs on all social medias.
And welcome back to coverage here of the Players Tour Online. We're in the finals. Marshall Sutcliffe with Cedric Phillips, Tom White versus Akira Asahara. We have Azorius Control versus Temur Reclamation. Cedric, you and I were talking coming in. If you're going to pick up Azorius Control, by the way, half of the semi, so the top four was made up of 2 Azorius and 2 Temur Rec. You have to feel like you have a decent matchup against Temur Reclamation to play this deck, right?
Yeah. Otherwise, why are you doing it? I mean, Marshall, the thing I talked to Maria about briefly when we were going over the deck list was right when the set with Dream Trawler. I think that's Throne of Eldraine. I think.
Oh God, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's right. The time, what is it anymore? But it was a format that was defined by Temur Reclamation and Azorius Control. And Azorius Control did a really nice job of checking Temur Reclamation, but there was some dispute among the community on which one of these decks is better. And at the end of the day, people leaned towards it being Azorius Control. And it looks like it was Theros, not Throne of Eldraine, pardon me, for everybody at home. But I think that Azorius Control, I don't think it's an overwhelming advantage, but I do think there is a slight advantage here for them in this matchup. But also note, Marshall, that when that was happening, when this kind of matchup was happening, that was before Shark Typhoon, that was before Companions, it was before a lot of stuff.
That's right. And we see some of the interesting interactions here for the game one, which is Akira has growth spiral, which is, of course, an absolute key to be able to play a wilderness reclamation early in the game. And as you can see, there's a thought process already about, do I just play this thing onto the battlefield, or do I maybe use a Shark Typhoon or something? Another thing that you'll note here is that there's an Ether Gust in hand here for Akira, and that's not going to have any targets for the other side. You can get a little creative with the way you use it, but it's more or less a blank card in the matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Wilderness Reclamation, it's easy to say you should just cast this right now. It makes a lot of sense to me why you would want to do that as well. But it also makes some sense of going like, well, if I play this and then it gets bounced by Teferi, how good and or bad is that for me? And then how is my Shark Typhoon going to take care of this Teferi? Ultimately, it looks like we've leaned towards, let's get the wreck on the battlefield. My opponent will, I'll untap with wreck. My opponent will play Teferi, maybe bounce the Reclamation, and then I can cycle Shark Typhoon and kill the Teferi. Now, we'll see if that's actually what happens here.
Yeah, that's a nice sequence for Akira. And I do wonder if the tiebreaker was the second copy of Wilderness Reclamation in hand. You know, when it comes to, do I run this out if it gets hit by a, veto or something? All right, but it does hit the battlefield. Here's Teferi Time Raveler, the sequence that you described happening exactly as you described it, Cedric.
Now, the other thing too here, though, is because it's Teferi static, Tom White might just say, okay, plus it to 5, go. Right?
Yeah.
Instead of
there we go.
You just plus, and you're just like, go ahead. You can't ever really kill this. So
your Shark is not going to be good enough this time.
Yeah, it's a 2/2.
Now, of course, the idea of leaving your opponent to do whatever they want on their turn is always a little bit scary, but you got to give up something. And the fact that you have Teferi Time Raveler against Wilderness Reclamation is great.
Ooh.
Of course, Mystical Disputes, first card off the top of the library. The next one, an Ether Gust. This is Disaster Town. None of these cards do anything. Wilderness Reclamation does nothing. Neither does Dispute, and the Ether Gust don't do anything under the best case scenario. Teferi is dominating the board right now.
This is for Akira Asahara. This is 3 dead cards?
Yes, 3 dead cards. And if this Shark gets killed, then Teferi's just going to run rampant over this board.
Yeah, you would prefer those cards to be Storm Crow.
yes.
Something to actually do.
Wow, and look at this. Tom White says, I'm just going to play Archon of Sun's Grace, your move.
Yep.
I've got Teferi. I have a blocker. What are you going to do about it? And now we see Shark Typhoon come up, and it just doesn't look good enough at this point. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, 4 toughness is definitely key here. Doesn't even have the mana to hardcast the Shark Typhoon for you, Marshall. So, I mean...
My dream's not even there. This is just brutal.
So the best thing that could happen here, I think, is, like, two wilderness reclamation triggers go in the stack, right? Like, float all your mana. You have 15 mana. That means you cycle the Shark. You make a 13/13. You draw your card. Obviously, the Shark doesn't have trample or anything. Archon can make chump blocking Pegasi, and then, or just Glass Casket it, and then where do you go?
Right. Tough spot here for Asahara. Potentially just cycling Shark Typhoon?
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy to think that a 13/13 flyer that draws you a card is no good right now, and I think it is definitely no good. He needs to make a decision right now, or he's going to get timed out of his turn.
Yeah, this is really, really getting down to it because there's no more timeouts available.
Yep.
Oh, hit it. Okay, got a little bit more rope as a result and hit a Fabled Passage. Tom looking to be in very good shape here.
The reality of this situation, we talked about the 3 dead cards in hand. There's also 2 dead cards in the battlefield and 2 Wilderness Reclamations, which means that Asahara has drawn 5 dead cards this game.
Wow. And it's all because of Teferi?
Yeah.
We talked earlier about Teferi perhaps being a little overblown about how good it is against Temur Reclamation on, overall, but not this game. That has been devastating.
In this particular shell, it's pretty unreal.
Yeah. This is unbelievable. I mean, Asahara just can do stone nothing here.
And this is, I mean, that expansion explosion in most instances, it would be very good. Right now, it is mediocre at best. It's for 2. This is kind of what I expected to see happen over time. Now, obviously, with Core Set 2021 coming down the pipeline here, like next week, we're not really going to delve into this format. But people main decking Aether Gust, you can find a deck that sidesteps that, right?
Yes, you can,
and we have that right here.
And we had a good performance by a couple of Esper decks as well. Not quite top 8, but being near the top table, same thing.
Yeah. You can find a way to ignore these cards, and like once Team of Reclamation doesn't have a ton of wiggle room. It's kind of doing the same thing every game, and you can plan against their game plan. We're seeing that with Azorius Control right now. I mean, this game isn't over, but I mean, it's not looking great.
No, and this is going to be Explosion for 2, targeting Teferi.
Did we get it? It resolved. Nice.
4 dead cards in hand, 4 dead cards on the battlefield.
Yeah.
What is going on here for Sahara?
Yeah, this is awkward.
Finds negate land off of the explosion. What are you going to do? And look at that hand from Tom White also. That is stacked.
Yeah.
This is just rough.
Yeah.
Starting to attack now too. Thomas, let's get this thing over with.
Thomas is feeling so good. He's like, you know what? I know you guys want to be done. I want to be done too.
Yeah. I want that trophy. And look at this, Yorian Sky Nomad. I wouldn't be surprised to see a concession here for Masamara.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just take a draw, look at the card, scoop them up scenario here. Because normally, the Teamer deck, it can steal a win with double Wilderness Reclamation because it can explosion you for 15 or whatever, right? But how you have to get so lucky to find a way to get this Teferi off the battlefield and then chain together those things. You don't have any of the tools to do that right now. 0.
No.
And that's going to be it. Game number 1 goes to Tom White. And honestly, it goes to Teferi. I mean, Teferi was amazing that game.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I don't want. I'll say it. It was a 1-card victory.
Yes,
Teferi made everything relevant.
It was the only thing that really mattered that game was Teferi. God, that's incredible.
A brutal beating.
It's got to be really frustrating.
For sure.
Sahara too, to just be like, you have this 1 card and I couldn't win. Although as a Team or Rec player, probably used to it by now.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing that deck, you have to be, and your deck is built in some fashion to be able to manage Teferi. And you see a Bone Crusher Giant hanging out in the sideboard, at least a couple copies, and it looks like one's going to come in. Maybe both are going to come in. I mean, that's a way to manage Teferi, all that stuff. So it's not like they don't have answers. They do. Right. Just none of them lined up in that game, that's for sure. People. Marshall, the people want to know what you're drinking at home. I've got water here in this blender bottle. What do you got
Guess what I did on my last break? I made some tea, baby.
Oh, yeah? There he is. There's the guy.
I got a crispy AP here with ice in it and everything, and it is nice. Super fresh. I am loving it. I saved that AP for the finals.
I like calling it crispy.
Got to get that AP in there. God, it's good today, too. I made a really nice one. I'm not going to lie. Killing it.
Do you have a certain number of ice cubes?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big ice fan. I'm a big ice guy. Like, that's actually a little bit melted there, but I would just fill the whole thing with ice if I didn't have to walk to the fridge every 5 minutes to refill the damn thing.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, the man loves his AP. I've been with him on the road. It's APs all the time.
It is mono AP.
It's a great bev. So there's no, but bad APs are pretty bad. I will say.
Yeah, they do. They fall off the cliff really quickly.
They are pretty bad.
Yeah. Man, I want to go to that ramen place again. Their AP was even decent there.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I mean, the
ramen was the pull, but yeah.
Remember that time I did keto for 5 days during a pro tour? Like
I do. Idiots? I remember when you got the the all chasu ramen, no noodles, please. I looked over at you. I'm like, oh, buddy.
I'm still embarrassed.
That was like you showed some real strength, man. That was tough.
for all of 2.5 weeks. It was. Now I just wish I got to eat all the awesome food with you guys. I couldn't order Arnold Palmer's. Nothing. It was just all stupidity on my end.
So
All
good.
bad. All bad.
By the way, somebody asked what an AP is in chat, and I just suggested banning them for life, but Kenji decided to actually just answer them like a nice person.
I would have sent them packing.
No, you know what? It's our job to spread the joy that is an Arnold Palmer for people that haven't had one before.
All right, little sailor, giddy on up.
So this time we do not see the wilderness reclamation from Asahara. Oh, but look at this, an attack by the sailor.
Little taste.
Wow, right into a potential shark typhoon, huh?
Love that attack.
And it got through.
Wait, I mean, if you cycle,
because then Teferi comes down.
Yeah, if you cycle, block, and then they play Teferi and bounce your token or whatever, it's just like, well, that's bad. I like this. I mean, I'm pro shove, so it's like, okay, you better have a counter spell.
Yes, and you know what? That's why, right? That's why you like it. What was the worst case scenario there? You won for one. It's not that big of a deal. It's okay.
Well, it might go bad.
Well, now it's going to be good though, right? Because we're going to see the wilderness wreck hit.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's bad for Tom White. It's good. It's good for Asahara because he gets to play wreck. He gets to play land.
Yeah.
If you untap this, you can play 4/4 shark.
Yeah, you can also start powering up the blast zone as a preventative measure for a potential Teferi.
Yeah.
Like this deck is designed to take advantage of having wilderness reclamation, and blast zones it's a minor component of that, but it does matter. And when it comes up, it's usually huge. I start getting some counters on that bad beast right away.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot if you want to charge up blast zone to 3. Or if you want to cycle Typhoon for 3, and have that on the battlefield. Because if you put Blast Zone on 3, and then on your turn, blow up Teferi, and then your wreck triggers, and you untap, you can still Typhoon. But I think I like this the best, especially if your opponent's not going to do anything.
If they just pass, sure.
Yeah, it's just a freebie.
Let's get going.
Yeah,
the land drops are
really
continuing.
good.
Yeah, this is looking good. Okay, so Asahara finally gets to start actually attacking Tom White's life total here. Gets in for 3 with a shark, and then I assume just pass again.
Yeah, there's this might be float do nothing.
Opportunities for expansion explosion, which seems a little too risky, but a shark or some combination of using Castle Vantress and Blast Zone. Lots of options here for Asahara.
Yeah.
But you were right, Zed. Just float and pass. Call it good. Still has options on Blast Zone or Castle Vantress. And then, of course, the cards in hand as well.
Typhoon is an interesting draw because it can trade with a shark. But if you do that, like in combat, your shields are down entirely. So I'm not sure you actually want to do that. I think that we're going to see Asahara on the end step cycle Shark Typhoon for 4. And you have a 4/4 and a 3/3.
Yeah, that's a nice army. I mean, that's something to have to deal with, right?
Yeah. I mean, why float and do nothing then use the Castle Vantress? Well, the reason, I think, is just because you want to make a 4/4 shark. Ooh, snap it off.
Oh, this is interesting if this happens, because look at Elspeth Conquers Death in hand here for Tom.
We thought about it. Snap it off. Okay.
Oh, wow. Yeah, making the full-size shark here. So 4/4 shark. That can eat up the Spectral Sailor, which is nice, get that thing off the battlefield, but this could cost Asahara the Wilderness Reclamation.
Yeah.
Perhaps Asahara is comfortable with that.
I think the plan is just to pressure the opponent out of the game.
Start slamming.
Okay.
Yeah, and it looks like Tom's not going to have any of it here either. Going to go for Teferi, which takes care of a shark and at least temporarily shuts down the Wilderness Wreck, although this other shark looks like it should be able to kill Teferi.
Yep.
Interesting decisions there, because the door was open for Tom to kind of be able to do whatever he wanted to do as far as taking care of the Wilderness Wreck or taking care of sharks. But it feels like Asahara was on the line that you described, Cedric, and I think Tom was like, yeah, that line actually works against me here, so I need to kill these sharks.
Yeah, just go on beatdowns.
Yeah.
Why not ECD? Because it doesn't solve the biggest problem there, in my opinion.
7 power of flyers, yeah.
Yeah, which is 7 power of flyers, basically checking your life total.
Yeah, that's what Cedric was pointing out a minute ago, is he saw the line that Asahara saw, which is, look, I can eat this 1/1 sailor, and I have 7 power that you got to mess with here. Like, if you kill my Wilderness Wreck and take a turn off to do that, it's going to cost you 7 life, and it's starting to get really sketchy for you on being able to survive further. And Tom actually saw it the same way.
Yeah, I think so. This is advantageous. Now, naturally, there is still a Wilderness Reclamation on the battlefield, so this kind of could look bad, for lack of a better term. But I think I'm okay with everything Tom did there.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's a strategic decision, right? Like, maybe it actually is better to take care of the Wilderness Wreck, weather the storm in the air, try to lean on Yorian or something like that. But again, it's a decision point. This is the finals, yeah. Here's -2 on Narset. Gotta find another Shark Typhoon.
Yeah, but no land.
No land to do so. All right.
Borrower's really nice, I think, for Asahara here. What are we going to pump up the jam on Blast Zone, perhaps? Yeah.
X equals 2, so Blast Zone will be at 3 charge counters now.
Okay.
Which threatens Narset in a kind of clunky way, because the shark also just threatens Narset.
Yep.
It looks like this might be Brazen Borrower, or I should say Petty Theft, to kill the shark here, though. On upkeep from Tom. All right, so that's nice.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16, 12. Okay, so...
Oh, tapped out.
Well...
Oh, but you don't get the cards. Okay, yeah.
So you can go... I mean, there are ways to ensure you get the cards, right? Like, you can crack Blast Zone, you can Petty Theft it, so you can lock in the fact that you're going to get your cards.
I would do that.
Yeah.
Like, this is a lot of mana with the Wilderness Wreck. It's going to be a big explosion. And you know how that goes. Sometimes it's just you need that window to draw 5, 6, 7 cards, and you can just lean on those to win the game.
And we are going to Hadouken just for so much right now. Big time Fireball.
Yep. So that's 6 mana there, 10, 14, so it'll be for 10.
Yep.
Even after having gotten rid of Narset, at least temporarily. Oh, it could be for less if Asahara has perhaps a few cards in mind. Looks like maybe for 8 this time.
Okay. Looking to find a land, maybe? Well, no. Well, that doesn't work because you can't play a land then.
Right, but
so
some 2-drop.
Yeah, this interesting
Just
thing.
Leave up Petty Theft. I mean,
yeah, I know. Talking to PV,
Ooh, how about Negate?
Yeah, PV once said that, like, when you have the opportunity to just max it out, you just do, instead of hoping to draw the right counter spell. But I mean, I think it's I think it's close either way.
Yeah, and this is a scenario where Asahara was going to be discarding to it anyway.
Yeah.
And boy, did that work out well. Growth spiral, negate, commence the end game.
That's all good. It's really
Wow.
good.
So now here's negate for Elspeth Conquers Death. And this is really rough. Now, there is mystical dispute here for Tom. The question is the damage done?
It feels like, given the texture of the hand. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you can't unless you peel off of Reclamation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
otherwise, you can get in for 4 with the expansion explosion.
Mm-hmm.
But Tom's at 7. Make it 5 with the blast zone. Oh, so close.
Yeah, but I think so. Ultimately, you're not too concerned because the nice thing here for Asahara is he's got a lot of paths he can go down. He can do it via commence if he wants to go towards Uro. He wants to go towards Brazen Bar. There's just so many different ways he can go about doing it.
This is kind of interesting. If you cast Uro and hit a land that's untapped, then you could also commence.
I'm surprised they want to get Uro back on the battlefield when we can just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We can commence plus something else.
I mean, I think that Asahara might be trying to do Uro plus commence.
Yeah, I guess the other thing to keep in mind too is that with ECD, if ECD goes up to chapter 2, then commence costs 8, not 6.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that you can't actually hold up commence plus counterspell because everything costs more.
Sure.
So then it makes some sense to actually go this way because of the Uro tax.
So Uro did hit a land, but it was a tap land, a Temple of Mystery. Narsit's reversal in hand now for Tom.
Okay. That's pretty adorable. I will say this, Tom is... Boy, he is outmanaged badly.
Yes, by a lot. Look at all those spells stuck in hand for Tom.
Yeah, it is a lot. Jeez, oh Pete's.
Okay, Narset Parter of Veils leaves only 3 mana behind and isn't going to be able to find a land regardless. Looks like Asahara may just be in one of those positions where he's like, well, I can just kind of counter everything because I have access to so many cards here.
He's so far ahead.
Mm-hmm. We also could just see something like Brazen Borrower hit the battlefield here and represent lethal. The Shark Typhoon is sort of holding down the fort, but barely.
Yep.
Yeah, this looks like it's just over, right? What is Tom doing here? Does the tax actually make it hard enough for Asahara to play multiple spells? Because, a Brazen Borrower plus Uro is 9 damage. A Shark Typhoon as a 1/1 could get hit by Expansion Explosion. But it looks like that's not what's happening here. Okay.
Well, we'll start right here.
Yeah, I mean, this just seems to be an insurmountable lead here for Asahara.
Yeah. And all of Asahara's cards in hand, ignoring, I guess I would say, the growth spirals are relevant. So kill you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is Xaxes. Am I right about that? No,
for
tax.
What?
No, I was thinking Explosion was for Xaxes. It's not.
Gotcha.
But if you Petty Theft token, get in your 6, and then Explosion for 1, you have enough to get it done. So 1, 2, 3, 4, pay tax 2, so you can Explosion for 2. Yeah, so this should be game now. There we go. There we go.
Yeah, explosion for 1 to finish things off.
Yeah.
And with a completely tapped out Tom White, that's going to be game number 2, going to Akira Asahara and forcing a game 3 in our finals. We're going the distance.
I'm going for speed.
Oh, yeah. So let's see what we can figure out, or what we can find out here about this matchup in the third game as the players consult their boards one more time.
Azorius is on the play. That's where you want to be.
Does seem really important. The Teferi fight, getting that down as quickly as possible to try to shut down a lot of what the deck's doing on the other side. We saw Teferi absolutely crush the first game.
Yeah. Jeez. Seven mana deal 1. Yeah. Sometimes it takes a lot to cross the finish line.
That is what that was, isn't it?
That's right.
It's a cantrip, so
yeah, true. Draw a card.
Get your card back.
I guess. All the better then. Yeah, it makes it totally fine.
What if I threw in a card?
I'm in. It's not even a question.
Yeah. Yeah, I still like the blue-white side of things here, especially on the play.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I don't expect the blue-white games to be as easy as that first game. Like, basically ever, where Akira drew so many bad cards. The sideboard games definitely take a different tenor.
Yes.
Someone's mentioning scornful egotist in the chat. The 1/1 morph. Yes.
Oh yeah.
I think it morphs for either 7 or 8. That one I do remember.
That's great. Okay, underway here. Game number 3 of the finals. Akira Asahara with Teamer Rec versus Thomas White on Azorius control. Thomas is going to kick off the festivities. The hand, Ether Gust, Narsit's Reversal, Omen, Dispute, Shark Typhoon. Very reactive hand. There's also a Yorion, of course, there at the back for later on.
Counter it. It's never going to get countered, by the way. Counter it.
Omen of the Sea is going to hit the battlefield.
Can you imagine?
Goes the other way. Like, I wonder if we're just going to see the growth spiral right now. Pretty typical for these players to do so, but with Mystical Dispute up, it's pretty. Can you have it all?
Yeah, I think you should spiral here.
Yeah, just spiral here. Play one of your blue sources and leave up Dispute. Ooh, that's a nice one. From Asahara's perspective, a tap land on turn 3 means that you're not facing down anything of consequence.
I guess Asahara is saying, if you want to counter my growth spiral, I don't care.
Yeah, that
by
is
not doing it when the opponent was tapped out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Finds a Ketria Triumph, puts that into play. Oh, and there's a sideboard card, Night Pack Ambusher.
Thomas White's Scribe Temple of Alignment went to the bottom. He's going to, I think, cycle.
Just a hard cycle of Shark Typhoon for no Val.
Yeah, and he needs lands.
Got to find lands.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is I wonder how Asahara approaches. I got my answer now, but the Night Pack Ambusher scenario, because sometimes you're more worried about it having countered, and sometimes you're more worried about them having an answer. And there's no land drop there for Tom White.
Yeah.
This is going to be a Shark Typhoon for 2 for Asahara, but this could be very much moving forward towards a victory here. One step at a time, a few more missed land drops, and it could be done.
I think this Azorius deck does have a good matchup, and when you miss your land drops after so many scries, what can you do? You're going to have to draw some running lands to get back in this. The card quality in the hand is high. Here's BB.
Isn't Borrower to kill the shark? And it looks like Asahara is considering responding, but says no. Because now if he wants, after having seen the missed land drops, he can play the Night Pack Ambusher. And by the way, the chat's pointing out that the Ambusher is actually main for Asahara with 3 of them. So
I was typing again. I'm sorry.
You were also correct, though.
I'm not that sorry, though.
Taking it back. I like it.
I'm not really that sorry.
So there was a hesitation there from Asahara to just go ahead and get the Night Pack Ambusher on the battlefield, but ultimately decided against it.
I'm a little surprised we waited.
I'm a little surprised too, mainly for this type of scenario where, if Tom says go, it's like, I don't really want to run my Night Pack Ambusher, into something like even a mystical dispute kills it here. Oh, but he has a backup dispute. Okay, I spoke too soon. So Asahara knows I can resolve this under most scenarios. That makes sense then.
Also, if this just gets gusted,
do you just let it happen? I'm kind of like you, man. I'm just like, I just dispute it. Let's get this thing rolling. I do feel a certain amount of pressure to get something going on the board because of the fact that Tom has missed land drops.
My camera's off it.
Your camera's dying on you?
My camera's really mad.
So immediately redraw the Ambusher here. I just don't want to give my opponent too much time, I guess. That's my thought process. There's Omen of the Sea.
I'm back.
You're back. It's you again.
I hope my camera is happy again.
It is. So Omen of the Sea on the stack. This is another opportunity for Asahara to play Night Pack Ambusher and have it resolve. There we go.
Okay.
So that's another big step towards victory here for Asahara, getting this really tough to deal with threat on the battlefield. If it sticks, because it starts multiplying, making more and more and more creatures, where even if you start finding individual answers, you can run out of gas. And Tom just needs to hit land drops turn after turn for the rest of the game to have a chance here.
Oh, there's one.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the battlefield tap though, but it can maybe chain you into it. Maybe it can chain you into another one. All right, left the card on top. But boy, that's a good draw.
It is Shatter the Sky on top of the library, but these mystical disputes are just going to take over for Asahara.
Yeah,
because we're going to see probably just land go here and then make a 3/3, and now the clock is very real. That is 7 power against an opponent on 14 life. And Tom is very crimped by mana here. Only 4 available. Yeah, Shatter the Sky is the type of card that you need to get back into this, but that's not going to resolve.
I didn't expect to see that on top. I expected to see a land.
Yeah, same. Here comes Mystical Dispute number 1.
How fast can we turn up the heat here? If we play Brazen Borrower now,
we can get in for 10. Does that do anything?
I'm not sure how much. I'm not sure how much it matters. Let's see, because you're attacking for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That means like if a Shadow of the Sky was to be cast and killed everything, which it's not going to. Yeah, we're done. We're done.
It's going to be game because Mystical Dispute in hand just says you don't get to resolve anything. Yeah. Tom White scoops him up, and we have our champion. It's Akira Asahara winning with Teamer Reclamation here at Players Tour Online 4. Congratulations to Akira.
He's back. I mean, unsurprisingly, Teamer Rec doing Teamer Rec things and winning another Players Tour Online. I think it won 3 of the 4.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
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 But to see him come back, for lack of a better term, because you mentioned Marshall, especially if you take a look at his Wikipedia page, a lot of his results are in Japan. And then there's, a World's Performance and some more online stuff. But, given the worldwide pandemic and everything else that's been going on recently, online play is where we're at. And oddly enough, this is going to bring some people out of the woodwork that we haven't seen for a while, and I think this is one of them. I know he's got results on online platforms and circuits, but this is really, really awesome.
Yeah, Asahara made top 8 at the PT in Nagoya in February as well. So we're talking about like a career resurgence now. Back-to-back Players Tour top 8s or PT top 8s, as well as a win now for Asahara. So really, really impressive, and perhaps somebody we need to look out for. Putting up these big finishes, especially at the Players Tour finals, where Asahara is going to have another chance to kind of show off.
Yeah, and this is kind of goes to show you just how horrible Team of Reclamation is because Nassif and White, they brought this Azorius control deck. I have to imagine they beat Team of Reclamation some number of times on their way to the top 4 in the finals. I mean, you take in the quarterfinals, Marshall Thomas White won a match against Team of Reclamation 2-1. So you have to imagine they went through it a couple of times, but Tom White was not able to get through it one final time. And for Asahara, something else to add to that mantle, even if it is a virtual trophy, most likely.
Yeah, that's right. And again, super impressive finishes, not only back in the day, but much more recently for Akira Asahara, and picks up the big win here. From a big picture perspective, half of our top 8 was Team of Reclamation, including our champion. We had 2 Azorius controls in the hands of Tom White and Gabriel Nassif. And then we also had 2 Bant decks, one of them Flash and one of them Ramp. So that made up our top 8. But again, look, the story of these past 2 weekends from a metagame perspective has been Team of Reclamation straight up. That is the deck post-bannings to beat, no doubt about it. And it made up half of our top 8 here. This is after the players saw the performances that it put up last weekend, had time to adjust, and they couldn't quite knock it off with 4 copies in the top 8 and a champion as well.
Yeah, no, and I still think. Do I think the deck is the best deck? I do. Do I think the deck is beatable? I do. But there's there's the interesting thing about this is post banning, pre-core set 2021. We're living in a very finite world of this is what the metagame looks like. We got a new set coming out next week, folks. That's, I think, almost assuredly going to change some things and maybe bring some new decks to the table. So for those players that kind of dislike what's going on, or talking about we need to ban Reclamation, we're getting like 200 plus new cards on Friday?
Yeah.
So let's start there.
Let's start there, and we'll see how that metagame develops, can adjust if there's new decks, if there's answers for the things we already have, and then we'll kind of let the dust settle and see how things plan out. That is going to do it for us for our broadcast here. We want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time to hang out and watch our favorite game with us. And of course, thanks to everybody that helps make these tournaments possible. There's a lot of people behind the scenes, even in a virtual event, that make the coverage and the tournament ops go. So we want to say thank you to them. With that, that's going to be it. For Cedric Phillips, I'm Marshall Suckoff saying we'll see you next time.